Nepal's House of Representatives passes finance and public debt bills. Procurement reform bill moves forward. TU Teaching Hospital restores health insurance services. OPD facilities resume post-payment settlement. Monsoon intensifies in Nepal. Experts warn of high disaster risk despite below-average rainfall forecast. Iran warns on Strait of Hormuz control, calls for regional security framework. South Korea and Japan reaffirm denuclearization pledge, agree to strengthen defense cooperation. And 2026 FIFA World Cup knockouts beginning tonight. South Africa faces Canada in round of 32 opener. Good evening, I'm Bijata Bhandari and this is NTV World Primetime News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere it is 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. Nepal's House of Representatives has endorsed key financial and governance legislation, including the Finance Bill 2083, the Bill to Raise Public Debt 2083, and a proposal to begin deliberations on the Public Procurement Second Amendment Bill 2083. The proposed procurement amendment, tabled by Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Sobhita Gautam on behalf of Prime Minister Balendra Shah, aims to strengthen transparency, improve project implementation and tighten accountability in public procurement. During parliamentary discussions, lawmakers broadly welcomed provisions to curb unrealistically low bids and incomplete projects. On the other hand, some criticized the government's use of ordinances instead of parliamentary procedures to introduce legislation. Meanwhile, the House unanimously passed the Public Debt Bill after Finance Minister Dr. Swarnim Wagle pledged that borrowed funds would be directed toward productive infrastructure projects with stronger oversight of loan-funded investments. Similarly, the finance bill was also approved by a majority vote after several amendment proposals were either withdrawn or rejected, marking a significant step in advancing the government's fiscal and development agenda. Addressing queries by lawmakers at today's HOR meeting, Nepal's Finance Minister Dr. Swarnim Wagle defended new tax measures in the Finance Bill 2083, saying revenues collected from the education and health sectors will help expand opportunities for citizens from marginalized communities. Minister Wagle said the newly introduced 3% equity tax on private schools is aimed at strengthening public education and ensuring access to education for disadvantaged children. Minister Wagle also highlighted an income tax exemption on annual earnings of up to 1 million rupees, saying the measure is intended to boost capital expenditure, increase spending capacity, and support economic transformation. Nepal's Vice President Ramsaheb Prasad Yadav has called for stronger integration of research, innovation and digital technology across the country's education system. Speaking at the Silver Jubilee celebration of Madan Bhandari Memorial College in Kathmandu, Vice President Yadav said artificial intelligence and modern technology should be introduced from school through to university education. The Vice President stressed that education must promote discipline, research, innovation and social responsibility while equipping young people with skills for employment and entrepreneurship. He also urged universities to develop into research hubs, describing teachers as key contributors to nation building and calling for timely reforms in the education sector. College officials highlighted the institution's commitment to providing affordable quality education, with former Tribhuvan University Vice-Chancellor Deepak Aryal noting that the college ranks among the top 10 of nearly 450 community campuses affiliated with the university. Nepal's Tribhuvan University Teaching Hospital has resumed its health insurance services after a months-long suspension caused by delayed reimbursement payments. Hospital Executive Director Dr. Subhas Prasad Acharya said the program has restarted in the outpatient department from June 29 and will be gradually expanded to other services in the coming days. The hospital had halted the scheme from January 15 after outstanding payments for treatments provided under the National Health Insurance Program remained unpaid. Following the recent settlement of dues by the Health Insurance Board, insured patients can now obtain insurance tickets between 7 and 11 a.m. and from 1 to 2:30 p.m. The teaching hospital has been providing treatment under Nepal's health insurance program since 2077 BS. Now we're going on a short break here. More news is coming up. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World Primetime News. Nepal's Department of Livestock Services has warned that bird flu is spreading across the Kathmandu Valley, with infected crows playing a major role in transmitting the virus. Director General Dr. Umesh Dahal said the disease is more difficult to control in wild birds than in poultry, as infected crows can fly between locations and spread the virus over a 21-day infectious period. Dahal added that the movement and droppings of the infected crows have contributed to outbreaks in multiple areas, including zoos. According to the department, bird flu has now been detected at around 100 locations in 11 districts nationwide, including all 3 districts of the Kathmandu Valley. Authorities have urged the public and poultry farmers to adopt heightened precautionary measures to help prevent further spread of the disease. Nepal's monsoon has become active, with experts warning that the risk of floods, landslides and inundation remains high, despite forecast of below-average rainfall due to weak geology, unplanned road construction and climate-related instability. Authorities have urged heightened preparedness and early warning compliance as the peak monsoon period approaches. Sabika Shrestha looks more into this.
This year's monsoon that entered Nepal through the eastern region is gradually spreading across the country. However, the rainfall is expected to be below average this year. Experts emphasize that lower rainfall does not necessarily mean lower disaster risk. They conclude that Nepal's fragile geographical structure, unplanned infrastructure development, and natural vulnerability continue to make the country highly susceptible to monsoon-related disasters. According to the Department of Hydrology and Meteorology, as little as 100 to 140 millimeters of rainfall within 24 hours is enough to trigger major floods and landslides in Nepal. In recent years, however, the widespread practice of haphazard road construction, cutting hillsides without following standards, and dumping excavated soil and rocks carelessly has made many areas vulnerable to landslides and road blockages even when rainfall exceeds 60 millimeters.
सरकारले बनाएको जुन स्ट्यान्डर्ड छ त्यो भन्दा कमै पानी पर्दाखेरि पनि बाढी गएको पहिरो गएको अनुभव हुनाले पानी भारी वर्षा भयो भन्ने चाहिँ अथोरिटीबाट भनिएको अवस्थामा त्यसलाई त्यसअनुसार चाहिँ हामीले सुरक्षाका उपाय अपनाउनु पर्ने पनि देखिन्छ।
During the monsoon season, floods, landslide, inundation, and lightning cause the greatest loss of life and property. Experts therefore urge people to exercise extra caution in areas along rivers and streams, flood-prone settlements, landslide-prone hilly regions, and areas near highways.
पूर्वानुमानलाई चाहिँ कसरी बुझाउने, समुदायसम्म कसरी विस्तार गर्ने भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ काठमाडौँमा जल तथा मौसम विज्ञान विभागले भनेको भन्दा सुर्खेतमा भएको स्थानीय आपतकालीन केन्द्रले वा चाहिँ कैलालीमा भएको चाहिँ आपतकालीन केन्द्रले चाहिँ त्यहाँको स्थानीय समुदायलाई भन्यो भनेपछि त्यो बढी प्रभावकारी हुने हुनाले पनि त्यो सूचनाको प्रभावलाई पनि बढाउने।
Meanwhile, authorities have urged the public to stay informed through regular bulletins issued by the Department of Hydrology and Meteorology and to use the toll-free helpline 1155 for updates on local flood risks and other monsoon-related hazards. It is warned that with disasters possible through the first week of September, maintaining vigilance, preparing in advance, and accessing timely information remain the most effective measures to reduce risks and minimize loss of life and property this monsoon season. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Dhruva Thapa reporting for NTV World.
Nepal's monsoon is becoming increasingly active, and experts are warning that the risk of floods, landslide, and inundation remains high, despite forecasts of below-average rainfall this year. Disaster specialists say Nepal's fragile terrain, unplanned road construction, illegal hill cutting, and climate instability continue to heighten the risk of monsoon-related disasters. According to the Department of Hydrology and Meteorology, intense rainfall of 100 to 140 millimeters within 24 hours can trigger major floods and landslides, while even lower rainfall may cause slope failures in vulnerable areas. Experts have urged people living near rivers, flood-prone settlements, landslide risk zones, and major highways to remain vigilant and check weather forecast before traveling. Authorities are also calling on all levels of government to strengthen disaster preparedness and encouraging the public to follow official weather bulletins and flood warnings, including updates available through the toll-free hotline number 1155. As Nepal enters the peak paddy planting season in the Nepali month of Asar, farmers across the country are once again facing shortages of chemical fertilizers, raising concerns over this year's rice production. Farmers say supplies of essential fertilizers, including urea, DAP, and potash, remain insufficient, forcing many to queue for hours and, in some cases, buy fertilizers at prices 2 to 3 times higher than the official rate. In districts such as Thading, many fertilizer distribution centers have run out of stock despite repeated government commitments to ensure timely supplies during the planting season. Farmers warn that delayed fertilizer application could slow paddy transplantation, reduce crop yields, and increase production cost, while calling for transparent distribution that prioritizes genuine farmers and curbs black market sales. Agricultural stakeholders say recurring fertilizer shortages during the country's most important farming period undermine Nepal's goal of achieving greater agricultural productivity and could ultimately threaten national food security. Commercial fish farmers in Nepal's Palpa district are scaling back production as cheaper imported fish from neighboring India increasingly dominates the local market. Farmers say imported fish entering through the open border via Rupandehi and Kapilvastu is more affordable and benefits from well-established distribution networks, making it difficult for locally produced fish to compete. They also cite inadequate transportation and weak market management as major obstacles to selling fish produced in rural areas. The Agricultural Knowledge Center in Palpa says it has been supporting fish farmers through the Smart Agriculture program by helping construct concrete ponds, protective enclosures, and plastic tunnels for water conservation. However, farmers are urging the government to go beyond production support by introducing stronger market management measures and policies to protect domestic fish producers. Now, international news coming up next. For now, a short break. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has warned that any challenge to the country's control of the strategic Strait of Hormuz will increase tensions. Speaking during a press conference in Baghdad, he called for the creation of a new regional security framework involving Gulf countries, saying it should exclude outside powers.
من از همه طرف‌ها درخواست می‌کنم که در موضوع مدیریت تنگه هرمز و ترتیباتی که برای بازگشایی تنگه هرمز از سوی جمهوری اسلامی ایران اتخاذ میشه دخالت نکنند، به یادداشت تفاهم امضا شده پایبند باشند و اجازه ندهند که این یادداشت تفاهم از مسیر خودش خارج بشه.
Araghchi's Iraq visit comes amid heightened regional tensions, with both countries expected to discuss security cooperation and recent geopolitical developments. The U.S. bombed Iran for a second day, hitting Qasem Island and the cities of Sirik and Bandar-e-Lenge after a drone attack on a commercial vessel near the Strait of Hormuz. The escalation marks a sharp intensification of hostilities in the Gulf region, raising concerns over maritime security and global energy supply routes. Iran, on the other side, says it has launched retaliatory attacks on U.S. forces in Bahrain and Kuwait and warns of a crushing response to further strikes. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has accused Iran of violating the Memorandum of Understanding between Washington and Tehran and threatened to militarily complete the job. South Korea and Japan have reaffirmed their commitment to the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and agreed to revive joint search and rescue drills in a step forward for security ties between the neighboring countries. Meeting in Seoul, South Korean Defense Minister Ahn Kyu-baek and his Japanese counterpart Shinjiro Koizumi agreed to work on regional stability bilaterally, as well as through their partnerships with Washington in the sixth round of talks between the two countries. Ahn and Koizumi also agreed to continue fostering exchange between their air forces' respective aerobatic teams, South Korea's Black Eagles and Japan's Blue Impulse, to further advance search and rescue exercises designed for various maritime accident scenarios. South Korea and Japan, with U.S. encouragement, have been working to develop closer ties since 2022 and overcome sometimes bitter historical differences, a policy continued by President Lee Jae-myung and Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. The death toll from the two devastating earthquakes that struck Venezuela on Wednesday had risen to 1,430, according to the country's National Assembly President Jorge Rodriguez. Speaking on state television, Rodriguez said that 3,238 people had been injured in the quakes and 3,142 families affected by the disaster. He said tens of thousands of people are still working around the clock on search and rescue operations. Rodriguez also said that 60% of the power supply in the hardest hit state of La Guaira has been restored, along with improvements in water supply in some areas, and the Venezuelan government has deployed over 100 heavy machinery units to aid in road clearing efforts and enhance the search operations. French health officials said on Sunday there had been around 1,000 more deaths than expected during a record-breaking heat wave that has baked much of Western Europe for days. The agency said areas under red alert for heat had been particularly badly affected, and 85% of the deaths had been those aged 65 and over. It came as Europe has experienced another day of extreme heat, with temperature records being broken across the continent again on Saturday. Germany set a new all-time high for the second day in a row as temperatures reached 41.5 degrees Celsius, according to provisional data. On Saturday, records also fell in Denmark and the Czech Republic as the unprecedented early summer heat wave moved further north and east, affecting more people. An estimated 150 million people in Europe are now experiencing temperatures of over 35 degrees Celsius. The World Meteorological Organization has warned the heat wave would have major impacts to health and ecosystems. Time again for a breather. We shall be back with more from the international front. The Trump administration has unveiled a new limited edition U.S. passport design featuring a photo of President Donald Trump to commemorate America's 250th birthday. In a post on social media on Friday, Trump shared a photo of the passport's newly designed pages, one that includes an image of himself with his fist on the Resolute desk with the Declaration of Independence in the background and his signature below. The passports will become available on 6th of July and only while supplies last, according to the U.S. State Department. It's the latest in a series of moves by the president to mark American institutions, including federal buildings, websites, and documents with his name or likeness. Meanwhile, thousands of people marched through the streets of Santiago, Chile, waving rainbow flags to mark Pride Month in a demonstration organized by the Movement for Homosexual Integration and Liberation and Fundación Iguales. Protesters called for stronger legal protections, comprehensive sex education, and tougher action against hate speech. The rally comes amid growing concern over rising pressure on LGBTQI+ rights in Chile and other countries, with activists urging authorities to strengthen safeguards against discrimination and violence. Organizers said sustained public pressure is essential to ensure legal progress is not reversed amid the shifting political climates. China has completed a key test on a high-temperature superconducting magnet for its artificial sun project, advancing its efforts to develop nuclear fusion energy. The magnet is designed for the Burning Plasma Experimental Superconducting Tokamak, or BEST, a compact fusion energy experimental facility in Hefei Future Science City, located in East China's Anhui province. Known as a central solenoid magnet, the component works somewhat like the spark plug of a car engine. It helps start a fusion device by driving electric current through plasma, the superheated gas used in nuclear fusion. Test data showed the magnet carried a stable current of 60 kiloamperes and stored 6.03 megajoules of energy, with its core performance the highest ever achieved internationally. The latest breakthrough, along with the technical acceptance of the world's largest superconducting magnet for a fusion reactor, is expected to strengthen China's independent research, development, and engineering capabilities in fusion technology. Now on to sports update. The knockout stage of the 2026 FIFA World Cup begins today, following the conclusion of the expanded 48-team group stage, with 32 nations advancing to the round of 32. The opening knockout match will see South Africa face co-host Canada, with kickoff scheduled for 12:45 a.m. Nepali time, marking the first ever World Cup knockout appearance for both teams. European nations dominate the last 32 with 13 qualifiers, followed by 9 African teams, 5 from South America, 3 from North America, and 2 from Asia. Defending champions Argentina will begin their title defense against tournament debutants Cape Verde, while defending runners-up France take on Sweden, and 5-time champions Brazil face Japan. Other notable round of 32 fixtures include Portugal versus Croatia, Germany against Paraguay, the Netherlands against Morocco, England versus DR Congo, Spain against Austria, and the United States taking on Bosnia and Herzegovina. And before we wrap up, here's a reminder of our top stories. Nepal's House of Representatives passes finance and public debt bills. Procurement reform bill moves forward. TU Teaching Hospital restores health insurance services. OPD facilities resume post-payment settlement. Monsoon intensifies in Nepal. Experts warn of high disaster risk despite below-average rainfall forecast. Iran warns on Strait of Hormuz control, calls for regional security framework. South Korea and Japan reaffirm denuclearization pledge, agree to strengthen defense cooperation. And 2026 FIFA World Cup knockouts beginning tonight. South Africa faces Canada in round of 32 opener. That's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be up at 2200 hours Nepal time. Meanwhile, do join us for our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead. This is The World This Week, your weekly roundup of the latest international events and updates. This is me, Bhavna Casey, and in this edition we bring the stories making headlines across the globe, from rising geopolitical tensions, high-stakes diplomatic developments to major political shift, cultural milestones and extraordinary global events shaping the week. We have all that you need. We begin with Venezuela, as the country has been rattled by two powerful earthquakes. Rescue teams are racing against the time after two powerful earthquakes struck near the capital Caracas, killing over 250 people and injuring hundreds more, as search operations continue for survivors trapped beneath the collapsed buildings. The first 7.2 magnitude earthquake was followed seconds later by an even stronger 7.5 magnitude one, according to the U.S. Geological Survey, with both occurring close to the surface, making destruction more severe. Many more people are feared dead, with others left homeless or too afraid to stay in damaged, unsafe buildings, sleeping in the streets after the disaster. The earthquake struck at 6:04 p.m. local time on Wednesday, a national holiday in Venezuela, meaning more people would have been at home than on a normal weekday. Both quakes were shallow, the first centered 20.3 kilometers below the surface and the second at the depth of 10 kilometers, according to USGS. Jorge Rodriguez, the president of Venezuela's National Assembly, reported that the death toll had risen after the country's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, declared a state of emergency. Several countries have pledged to help the rescue efforts, with the U.S. promising $150 million in aid. The U.S. military says it has sent transport ships and aircraft to support search and rescue teams and rapid relief operations. Venezuela lies over the meeting point of two tectonic plates, and the earthquakes were likely caused by the sudden release of friction between them. Tensions between Iran and the United States remain elevated amid renewed diplomatic and military developments, raising concerns over regional stability in the Middle East.
Tensions in the Middle East remain high as diplomatic efforts continue alongside sharp exchanges between regional powers. Iran's foreign ministry has condemned a joint statement by the United States and Gulf Cooperation Council, accusing Washington's military presence in the region of contributing to instability and insecurity. Meanwhile, Hezbollah leader Naim Qassem accused Israel of seeking to expand its presence in Lebanon, saying Israel's objectives extend beyond security concerns to territorial ambitions. At the same time, U.S.-mediated talks between Israel and Lebanon has been extended for another day in Washington, with negotiators continuing discussions aimed at reducing tensions along the border. Separately, International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi confirmed that the UN nuclear watchdog has been tasked with inspecting Iran's nuclear facilities as part of the US-Iran agreement, a key step in implementing the deal.
Yes, I think the objective of this agreement is to ensure that there is no development of nuclear weapons in Iran. The government of Iran has affirmed quite clearly that this is not their intention, but of course intentions are not enough. We have to have a very strong verification system in place.
The latest developments underscore continued diplomatic efforts amid persistent security challenges across the region. Britain has entered a leadership transition after Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced his resignation, setting the stage for a Labour Party contest to choose the country's next Prime Minister. Downing Street has said there will be no new major policy or spending commitments until a new Prime Minister is appointed, following the announcement that Keir Starmer will step down as Labour leader and head of the government. Starmer, who confirmed his resignation on Monday, will remain in post as caretaker Prime Minister until a successor is chosen, while authorising prospective candidates to receive briefings from civil servants ahead of the leadership transition.
I will ask the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party to set out a timetable with nominations opening on the 9th of July and completed by the summer recess. In the case of a contest, this will ensure a new leader is in place before Parliament returns in September.
The leadership contest within the Labour Party is already taking a shape, with senior figures beginning to position themselves for what is expected to be a rapid succession process.
I will also give my successor my full and unequivocal support, knowing that they will inherit a Britain that is far stronger and fairer than the one I inherited 2 years ago, better prepared for the challenges ahead, and better able to ensure the Labour Party secures a second term in office.
Andy Burnham, newly elected MP for Makerfield, is currently seen as the front-runner to replace Starmer, with some ministers reportedly backing him for what they describe as an orderly transition of power. Potential challengers include Darren Jones, Starmer's chief secretary, and former Armed Forces Minister Al Khans, both of whom are considering whether to enter the race. Under the party timetable, nominations will open on 9th July and close on 16 July, with the possibility that Burnham could become next Prime Minister as early as 16 or 17 July if no challenger emerges. China and Bangladesh have elevated their bilateral ties after President Xi Jinping and Bangladeshi Prime Minister Tariq Rahman pledged deeper cooperation on trade, infrastructure, technology, and regional connectivity. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Bangladeshi Prime Minister Tariq Rahman have agreed to elevate bilateral relations by establishing China-Bangladesh community with a shared future following talks in Beijing. Meeting at the Great Hall of the People, the two leaders pledged to deepen strategic cooperation across trade, infrastructure, technology, and regional connectivity. President Xi reaffirmed China's support for Bangladesh's sovereignty and development while calling for closer political coordination and expanded cooperation under the Belt and Road Initiative. The two sides also agreed to strengthen collaboration in green development, the digital economy, artificial intelligence, healthcare, education, and cultural exchanges. Both leaders pledged to enhance coordination through the United Nations and other multilateral forums while advancing the China-Myanmar-Bangladesh economic corridor to improve regional connectivity and economic integration. The agreement marks a significant upgrade in China-Bangladesh ties as Beijing continues to strengthen its partnerships across South Asia. Millions of people around the world mark the International Day of Yoga with this year's observance highlighting yoga's role in promoting healthy aging and preventive health care. The world celebrated the 2026 International Day of Yoga under the theme Yoga for Healthy Aging, highlighting yoga as a lifelong practice aimed at supporting physical independence, flexibility, joint mobility, and mental well-being across all age groups. The 12th annual global celebration emphasizes on preventive healthcare and adaptive fitness, with organizers promoting yoga as a low-impact discipline that can help reduce lifestyle-related health risk and support healthier aging populations. In Nepal, yoga sessions and awareness programs were held in Kathmandu and other districts, where practitioners, wellness groups, and students participated in mass demonstrations and guided exercises focused on mindfulness and physical well-being. Yoga practitioners in the country also encouraged wider adoption of yoga as part of preventive healthcare routines. In India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi led the national celebrations from Kolkata in West Bengal as part of nationwide events marking the day. Authorities also highlighted targeted health initiatives and yoga-based wellness protocols aimed at promoting preventive healthcare across different regions. Governments and wellness organizations worldwide continue to use the day to promote awareness of non-communicable disease prevention, stress management, and holistic health approaches through regular yoga practice. Iceland has resumed commercial whale hunting after a 2-year hiatus, reviving international criticism over a practice that remains legal in only a handful of countries. 2 whales killed off the coast of Iceland were brought back to shore, marking the first catches since commercial whaling resumed after a 2-year hiatus. The whales were hunted during the night of Monday to Sunday, just days after officials allowed the controversial practice to restart. Iceland is only one of 3 countries that continue to permit commercial whaling alongside Norway and Japan. The resumption of whale hunting has renewed criticism from environmental and animal welfare groups, which argued that the practice is unnecessary and incompatible with modern conservation efforts. Supporters of whaling, however, maintain that hunting is conducted under strict quotas and forms part of a long-standing cultural and economic tradition. The latest catches are expected to intensify debate over the future of commercial whaling as international pressure mounts for stronger protection of whale populations worldwide. Australian researchers have demonstrated a new step in biological computing after training the lab-grown human brain cells to play the classic video game Doom.
Australian researchers have trained lab-grown brain cells on a silicon computer chip to play the 90s shooter game Doom and say they are just scratching the surface of what the neurons could be capable of doing. It's the science fiction work of biotech boffins at Cortical Labs who research the developed and technology that harnesses the workings of the brain's networking system. Each so-called biological computer contains around 200,000 living human brain cells grown from stem cells that were harvested from blood donations. Researchers say the cells were able to learn and respond to in-game stimuli, demonstrating a capacity for adaptation and basic decision-making. While the technology remains at an early stage, scientists believe it could eventually contribute to advance in artificial intelligence, neuroscience research, and drug development. The project is part of a broader effort to explore whether living neural networks can perform certain computing tasks more efficiently than traditional computer systems. Researchers say the results suggest biological intelligence may offer unique advantages in learning and energy efficiency. The breakthrough also raises questions about the future role of biological computing in technology and medicine. Scientists at Cortical Labs say further research will focus on increasing the complexity of tasks these neuron-based systems can perform and better understanding how living cells process information in hybrid computing environments.
Thousands gathered across the United Kingdom to celebrate the summer solstice, marking the longest day of the year with sunrise ceremonies and outdoor events. A severe heat wave across much of Europe has prompted governments to impose emergency measures, with France restricting alcohol consumption at public events. In France, temperatures are expected to reach 39 degrees Celsius to 41 degrees Celsius in some regions, with 35 of the country's 96 departments placed under red heat wave alerts. Following a crisis meeting, French Prime Minister has announced a temporary ban on alcohol consumption at public gatherings in affected areas. Germany has issued national heat advisories with forecast of temperatures nearing 38 degrees Celsius and warnings that a combination of heat and humidity could trigger severe thunderstorms across parts of the country. Italy is also experiencing widespread disruption with temperatures reaching up to 37 degrees Celsius in some cities. Public life and tourism have been affected with visitors in Rome queuing under intense heat outside major landmarks while others sought shelter in shaded and underground areas. In Spain, authorities closed a major football zone in Madrid's Plaza de Colón as a precautionary measure amid extreme temperatures, while match screenings are shifted to air-conditioned venues. Meteorologists and climate scientists say the frequency and intensity of European heat waves are increasing, linking the trend to long-term climate change and raising concerns over public health risk and infrastructure stress. Denmark's Copenhagen Zoo has welcomed the birth of a giraffe calf, strengthening international conservation efforts for one of the world's near-threatened species.
Zookeepers at Copenhagen Zoo watched closely as a giraffe calf was born, marking the third successful birth of the near-endangered species at the facility this year. Staff quickly intervened after delivery, carefully removing the amniotic membrane from the newborn's nostrils to ensure it could begin breathing properly before the mother took over care. Giraffe calves are typically born after a gestation period of around 15 months, weighing between 50 and 60 kilograms and standing close to 2 meters tall at birth. The zoo is part of an international giraffe breeding program and has now recorded 52 successful births since the first giraffe arrived in 1902. Giraffe populations in the wild are under increasing pressure, with habitat loss driven largely by human activity, contributing to their near-threatened conservation status. The newborn is expected to remain under close veterinary observation during its first days of life to monitor feeding and mobility. Zoo officials say the latest birth strengthens ongoing efforts to support genetic diversity within captive giraffe populations across Europe.
In Gaza, a group of women who lost limbs during the conflict have formed Palestine's first women's amputee football team, combining rehabilitation with ambitions for international competition.
A group of young women who lost limbs during the ongoing conflict in Gaza have come together to form Palestine's first women's amputee football team. Founders say the initiative is aimed at both rehabilitation and long-term international competition, including potential participation in the Women's Amputee Football World Cup in Europe in 2027. The team, currently training on a makeshift pitch in central Gaza, brings together female athletes adapting to life-altering injuries sustained during the war with Israel. Players move across the field using crutches, with sessions focused on basic ball control, balance, and coordination, an adapted version of football designed for amputee athletes. According to figures cited by the Palestinian Olympic Committee, nearly 1,000 athletes have been killed during the war, while more than 265 sports facilities across Gaza have been destroyed or rendered unusable. Organizers say the project is as much about mental recovery and social reintegration as it is about sport performance, offering participants a structured environment to rebuild confidence and physical capability.
Thousands of spectators gathered in eastern China as a 500-meter illuminated Golden Dragon Boat Parade lit up celebrations for the traditional Duanu Festival. A fascinating Golden Dragon Boat Parade was staged in East China's Jiangsu province to celebrate traditional Chinese Duanu Festival, captivating tens of thousands of residents and tourists with a glowing dragon gliding across the water. The featured parade is an intangible cultural heritage from Yangshu County of South China's Guangxi Zhuang Autonomous Region. The parade came alive with a winding line of 55 illuminated bamboo rafts linked end to end, moving through the old moat outside Suzhou's historical Xiangjian Gate. The parade of the dragon-like line of boats stretched over 500 meters, fascinating many tourists who came from across the country to enjoy the festive cheer. The spectacle also featured golden umbrellas and a folk 4.8-meter high new dragon head that is predominantly green and specially made for this performance. The festival coincides with the traditional belief that this is a time to ward off misfortune, as poisonous animals and insects are thought to become more active during this period. Traditional activities such as dragon boat races and eating jongji or sticky rice dumplings have been passed down for ages to celebrate the festival. The skies over Denmark's Fano Island filled with tens of thousands of kites as one of the world's largest international kite festivals brought together enthusiasts from across the globe.
Thousands of kites filled the skies over Denmark's western coastline on Sunday as the annual gathering on Fano once again drew one of the largest assemblies of kite enthusiasts in the world. The multi-day event, known as the Fano International Kite Flyers Meeting, brought together an estimated 5,000 participants from 26 countries. The festival is widely regarded as one of the most significant international kite flying events, attracting both amateur hobbyists and professional kite designers. Across wide stretches of beach and coastal dunes, the air above Fano was crowded with an estimated 25,000 kites of varying shapes, sizes, and technical complexity. Participants launched everything from traditional diamond kites and large artistic inflatables to highly engineered stunt kites capable of synchronized aerial formations. Organizers described the event as both a cultural exchange and a technical showcase where kite building traditions from Asia, Europe, and the Americas converge. Teams often spend months preparing customized designs, with some installations requiring coordinated ground crews to manage launch and recovery in shifting coastal winds. Beyond the spectacle, the gathering also serves as a competitive and collaborative platform, featuring informal flying competitions, synchronized displays, and night flights illuminated by LED-equipped kites. Officials say the event continues to grow in international participation, reinforcing Fano's reputation as a global hub for kite culture and coastal festival tourism.
Vietnam's Da Nang International Fireworks Festival continued with a dazzling competition showcasing European precision and Asian storytelling in one of Asia's premier pyrotechnic events.
The skies above the Han River were illuminated on June 20 as the Da Nang International Fireworks Festival continued its 2026 edition, with a fourth competition night themed Creativity, featuring competing displays from European and Asian teams in a high-profile pyrotechnic showcase. Following 3 earlier nights of performances, the latest round of the annual festival highlighted contrasting artistic approaches, with organizers framing the event as a clash between Europe's technical precision and Asia's narrative-driven visual storytelling. The German team, making its debut at the competition, presented a display titled Pyrographics, drawing on more than 150 years of pyrotechnic tradition. Their performance focused on tightly synchronized sequences designed to mirror musical composition, with organizers describing the show as an attempt to paint with light through structured bursts of color and pattern across the night sky. In contrast, the Macau team from China delivered a narrative-driven display inspired by the classical tale Journey to the West, integrating water-based fireworks and orchestral electronic arrangements. Festival organizers said the Creativity-themed night reinforced DIFF's positioning as a hybrid cultural and technological event, combining competitive fireworks design with large-scale public entertainment along the waterfront.
And with that, we come to the end of this episode of The World This Week. We shall see you again next week with a new episode, and we hope you enjoyed as much as we did bringing it to you. Also, to follow us on our website www.nepaltelevision.com, our social media handles, as well as our YouTube channel. Till then, take care and bye-bye.
Heaven above and angels below. This is the essence of Ruby Valley. Nestled in the northern part of Nepal's Dhading district, Ruby Valley is a hidden jewel surrounded on all sides by majestic mountain ranges. The landscape here is a feast for the eyes. White rhododendron blossoms paint the hillsides and sprawling rice fields shimmer under the sunlight. At about 300 kilometers from Kathmandu, the valley is a serene retreat, rich in culture, tradition, and natural beauty. Reaching Ruby Valley involves a remarkable trek that starts with a scenic journey from Kathmandu through Nuwakot and Rasuwa, winding towards the base of Ganesh Himal, the towering peak that watches over this land. The trek leads through dense pine and oak forests, terraced farmlands, and vibrant local villages like Tipling, home to the Tamang community. These people live in harmony with nature, cultivating crops and raising livestock while keeping their rich traditions alive, welcoming visitors with warm hospitality and cultural performances. The striking Pangsang Pass at 3,800 meters marks a stunning milestone on the route, offering panoramic views of the green-clad hills and distant Himalayan ranges. Below, forests of tall sal trees stand as silent guardians. As travelers traverse this landscape, they witness local women harvesting crops, hear the heartfelt songs sung by villagers in the fields, and feel the essence of a life deeply connected to the land. The daily sight of Ganesh Himal inspires awe and a sense of peace that visitors carry with them. Ruby Valley lies in the heart of the Himalayas, surrounded by some of Nepal's most famous mountain ranges, Manaslu, Annapurna, Langtang, and Ganesh Himal itself. This geographic embrace creates breathtaking scenery at every turn. Yak caravans and mule trains add a touch of timeless charm to the trekking experience, enhancing the rustic beauty of this remote land. The village of Chalis, nestled in the lap of Ganesh Himal, is a cultural crossroads for the Gurung community. Visitors witness their unique traditions, hear their folk songs by evening fires, and enjoy their vibrant dances, which invite travelers to connect on a deeper level. The journey continues beyond the villages to sacred sites like Tatopani Kunda, where natural hot springs offer spiritual purification and healing waters believed to renew body and soul. From there, hikers embark on a challenging yet rewarding trek to the holy Ganesh Kunda, a glacial pond named after Lord Ganesh. This pristine water body mirrors the majestic peaks around it, creating an ethereal panorama that captivates all those who visit. With peaks ascending over 7,400 meters, Ganesh Himal stands as a guardian of this sacred valley. Ruby Valley is more than a destination. It is an invitation to experience Nepal's untouched nature, vibrant cultures, and spiritual heritage all in one journey. For those seeking a unique adventure off the beaten path, Ruby Valley offers an unparalleled blend of breathtaking landscapes, warm hospitality, and rich traditions that make it one of Nepal's top destinations for international and domestic travelers.
Welcome to Declassified Beyond the Brief. I'm Devendra Subedi. What is the importance of scientific research and academics in our day-to-day life? Do the breakthroughs and findings made by great scientists and researchers matter in everyday life of a common person like us? In this episode, we try to declassify the value of academics in life, history-making finding of a Nobel laureate, major challenges the world is facing, the cosmos, the universe, and much more. It is our honor and privilege to welcome Nobel laureate Professor Dr. Takaaki Kazita in the studios of Nepal Television and NTV World. Professor Kazita, welcome to NTV World.
Thank you.
You were the chief guest of the 51st convocation of one of the largest universities of the world, Trivandrum University. Now, how much do countries like Nepal contribute in the global ecosystem of physics, Professor?
Well, as far as I think, physics is truly a global effort. Therefore, I think Nepal is one of the important contributors to the development of physics.
So Nepal can play or has played, Professor, so far?
Well, I hope Nepal can play more significant role in the future.
Now, going back to the universities, Professor, how did the Japanese universities where you studied shaped your scientific journey up to the Nobel Prize and the research that you conducted?
Thank you for this question. When I was young, I think the Japanese national universities have a kind of academic freedom. I can spend all my time for the research. I think that kind of environment was very important to really produce important scientific results.
But in our part, we often talk about practical education. It should be more day-to-day use. This should come into. But that is the importance of research, isn't it, Professor? We should concentrate. And what about the investment in research?
Well, I think both fundamental research and research that can contribute to tomorrow's life are both important. So we have to support both sides.
If Nepal have to strengthen its higher education system, let's say, what lessons can it learn from Japan at this present time?
In the last 20 or so years, Japanese government tried to reduce the support to the Japanese national universities. Then the effect was clear. The number of papers or number of highly cited papers rapidly decreased. So I think the support from the government, support from all the people in the country is very important for the development of science.
Now we move on to one of the things that you mentioned in your Convocation Day speech, Professor Kazita. You mentioned about some of the major issues the world is facing right now. Can you elaborate something more onto your speech?
Well, I think I had several points. First of all, I mentioned AI, and AI is a kind of new technology, and it seems AI is really going to be really important for our future, and therefore we have to think about the way how to use AI properly. Of course, there are other issues such as climate change. This is again a global issue. Therefore, we all have to work hard to stop the global warming.
How about the geopolitical tensions surrounding this world, Professor Kazita?
Well, I don't want to go into too details about this issue, but well, compared with, say, 20 years ago, well, I am really feeling that our world is changing. I really like to have our world 20 years ago.
That was much better.
Much better, yes.
Will the global dynamics, Professor Kazita, always be dictated by the countries who have a lot of spending in scientific research or the ones that have robust economy? Who do you think will dictate the global dynamics?
Certainly, nowadays, some countries try to control everything, but well, I think every country, every people are player in the world.
So it should be a collaborative world.
Yes.
If you said you can't comment much on that one, now I come to your topic, physics, Professor Kazita. Will the nuclear threat or the race that we see in this world after the evolution of technologies like nuclear fusion, nuclear fission, will that ever end, or are we going to ever see an end to this one?
Difficult question. Well, certainly, as far as the energy is concerned, if we have enough renewable energy resources, I hope we can forget about the nuclear powers and so on. But for the moment, we are not yet that position. So therefore, we still have, in my opinion, we still have to think seriously what will be the best way for the future.
There are always pros and cons of every discovery, or whenever there's a new evolution. Should the ones that are a threat to humanity or the environment be, let's say, eliminated right from the initial phase, or they should carry on? Let's take the example of cloning. Like, let's say now we have even reached up to human cloning. There's still a debate in that one. So such type of researches and experiments, should those things be promoted or should not be done at all?
Well, I'm certainly in a little bit conservative side. Well, nowadays, well, the things that science can do have expanded so much. Therefore, when we think about any application, we have to be very serious, and we need to have a significant discussion, and we need to have a consensus among the society.
So does that involve the scientific community only, or the common people as well?
I think we should involve the common people.
Now we move on to your specific research area, Professor Kazita, that won you a Nobel Prize in 2015, physics, the cosmic rays and the neutrino oscillation. What is neutrino physics and how is it different from the particle physics?
Neutrino physics is part of particle physics, but, well, we think now neutrino physics is important because about 25 years ago, people discovered neutrino oscillations that implies neutrinos have small mass. And small mass of neutrinos might be the window to study physics beyond the standard model of particle physics. Therefore, well, we are excited.
Let's say this is something, a standard ball pen. How small and deep is your research when you study the neutrino oscillation? How small is the particle? To what depth do you reach?
Well, in the standard scenario, neutrinos do not have the size. Therefore, I cannot say how small.
Exactly how small they are. But they are not visible to our eyes, are they?
No, it's not possible even for particle physics experiments. We cannot see neutrinos.
So, in simple terms, Professor Kazita, neutrino oscillation, what is it and why it matters to common people like us?
Oh, okay. Well, neutrino oscillations are phenomena that neutrinos, while traveling in the vacuum or even in the matter, they change their type.
Yeah.
That is the neutrino oscillations, and this happens if neutrinos have small mass. Of course, even if neutrinos have small mass, it doesn't matter to our daily life.
It doesn't matter, but it does shape the future of humanity, isn't it?
Well, as a humanity, we would like to understand the secrets of the universe, and therefore we may contribute to expanding our knowledge.
How challenging was it, Professor Kazuta, to prove the neutrino oscillation theory experimentally?
Well, okay. When we discovered neutrino oscillations in 1998, well, people were not sure if really neutrinos oscillate. Therefore, we thought it's very important to convince neutrino physicists with a very clear data.
So with the experiment, you provided that data to your team and that did the research?
Yes, our team provided the clean data, yes.
I heard you say, Professor Kazuta, my failed research, unsuccessful research, gave me a PhD. And the one that was successful earned you a Nobel Prize. You said somewhere this statement of yours. Can you explain on that one?
Yes, okay, thank you. Well, when I was a PhD student, I wanted to observe proton decays. I was unable to observe, but fortunately I got PhD.
For that particular research?
Yes, and well, even after PhD, I continued search for proton decays. Then, in some day, I noticed that the background events to the search for proton decays are not understood. That was neutrino interactions. Then I changed to this topic.
What does your discovery mean for humanity's or our, let's say, understanding of the matter and the cosmos?
Well, certainly, if we understand, for example, why neutrino mass is so small, it will certainly give us a better understanding of the fundamental theory of the particles, and these particle theories could help understand the universe better.
Is there any practical application of that in our day-to-day life?
No, I don't expect so.
Professor Kazuta, you have spoken of super and hyper Kamiokande. You have already worked on that, going underneath the earth and then doing the experiment. Can you explain in simple terms to our viewers what exactly was that Kamiokande? Or you were even talking about the hyper Kamiokande now, which you want to work on.
Okay, thank you. Well, let me talk about the super Kamiokande experiment. It is a very large detector located in deep underground. It is located about 1,000 meter deep underground, and the size is about 40 meter in diameter and 40 meter high, and it contains 50,000 tons of extremely clean water. And you may ask, why you need 50,000 tons of water? Well, the problem is neutrinos essentially pass through everything, but very rarely they interact with matter. Therefore, in order to observe neutrino events, we need large volume. Therefore, we use 50,000 tons of water.
You went underneath, almost 1 kilometers underneath the surface of Earth in that reactor, and then how long did it take to come up with the finding?
Well, in fact, super Kamiokande was large enough. Therefore, in order to discover neutrino oscillations, it took only 2 years.
How large will be the hyper Kamiokande you are talking about?
Hyper Kamiokande will be about 8 times larger in volume than super Kamiokande.
When are you expecting, are you already into that mission, or are you expecting to do it pretty soon?
I think the experiment will start in 2028, so less than 3 years.
So you said there's a lot of collaboration in that one, 22 countries coming together for the Kamyokonde. How about this hyper Kamyokonde?
22 or 3 countries in collaboration is the hyper Kamyokonde experiment. Even in super Kamyokonde, we have collaborators from 11 countries.
11 countries then. So you are doubling the number, and it's 8 times larger experiment. I would like to wish you all the best for your hyper Kamyokonde right here, right now, Professor Kazita, and hopefully the findings will land you another Nobel Prize, maybe.
Thank you, but I'm not deeply involved in hyper Kamyokonde.
All right, but you are the one who started this with the super one, and then hopefully that will be carried forward by the new generation of researchers.
Yes, I hope so.
How important is sustained investment in basic research or scientific breakthroughs in developing countries like Nepal, Professor?
Well, it's an important point. Well, from our experience, I can say the sustained support by the government is really important to carry out basic research. Well, it's not easy to produce important results in basic science, but well, in our case, government was very supportive, and we were able to produce important results over the past 30 years.
Any suggestion you have for developing countries like Nepal, where, as earlier I mentioned, we only talk about practical education, more day-to-day life applications, and why they should also spend in research and all this sort of stuff. Any suggestion you have, Professor?
Well, first of all, in order to develop science, academic freedom is important. So researchers can select whatever they would like to do. So that kind of freedom is very important, and sometimes their research cannot contribute to tomorrow's life. But if we think about the long history of humanity, the basic science, in some cases, contributes significantly to humanities. Therefore, the support to basic science is very important even in Nepal.
Do you think Nobel-level discoveries or research or findings are possible from countries like Nepal or any other developing countries as well?
I think so. But, well, supporting basic science is really the key to get the fundamental research result.
You spoke about perseverance in your speech in the convocation day. How important is perseverance and patience?
Well, it's absolutely essential to be able to continue the research for a long time.
For example, once you did your research and you couldn't find the proton decaying thing and you earned your PhD. Had you left it there, you would not have reached up to the findings that you have made there. But today, nowadays, youths or even people are very much result-oriented. They want immediate result. They want immediate success. What message you have for them?
I think it's important that researchers find important questions, and it may take long time to answer to these important questions. But if you think this question is important, you should persuade.
So keep working on, think about the long-term impact, do investment from the government side, and the young researchers do not look for immediate success.
That's right. And, well, I think nowadays young researchers have a very high pressure in order to get the next job. Therefore, it's very important that government support young researchers' position, permanent position.
How important is physics, Professor Kazuta, to human existence itself, to humanity? Physics.
Well, it's a difficult question. Well, as humanity, we would like to understand the universe better, and we physicists can contribute to our better understanding of the universe. Maybe that's all we can do.
As I earlier asked, in that practical thing you said, our better understanding of our universe. We should understand our universe better. And maybe the researchers in future can take your learning and apply there. How should humanity balance this curiosity-driven science with immediate societal needs?
I think this is a very important question. And well, certainly, as a physicist working on fundamental things, I really hope stronger support for fundamental research, but the balance between the fundamental research and the improvement of the tomorrow's life is always an issue. And I think we have to discuss as a community what will be the best way for the moment.
Information technology is evolving.
Yeah.
You spoke about AI earlier as well. Do you see it as a challenge, or will it complement human efficiency in the long term?
I think we have to, well, first of all, it is not possible to avoid the use of AI anymore. Then the question is, shall we simply use them without thinking anything?
Yeah.
That is the question. And I think, well, certainly we should use AI, but at the same time, we should not forget the importance of our thinking.
So it's not just the machines. We cannot avoid the use of technology and get the benefit out of it, but don't leave it alone, right?
Right.
Okay. Finally, we are reaching almost at the end of this conversation, Professor Kazuta. What message would you like to share with young scientists in developing countries like Nepal?
Yeah. Okay, thank you for this question. Well, as I said, physics or science is a global effort. And if young people are interested in science, interested in understanding the nature, please do not hesitate to do research, to become scientists. Please do not hesitate to become scientists.
Final question, Professor Kazuta. Say something about Nepal. This is your third time in Nepal. How do you like this country?
Oh, I like Nepal very much. Whenever I come to Nepal, I'm really excited. If I visit the old temple, I'm really inspired, and I find some similarities between Japanese culture and Nepal culture. So I'm always excited to come here.
Thank you so much, Professor, for your time, your precious time. We were really, really honored to have you in our studios of NTV World. Looking forward to your Hyper-Kamiokande experiment, which will be a carry forward from what you have left. Thank you so much, Professor Kazuta, for your time, for your thoughts. We are really honored to have you in the studios of NTV World. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was indeed an honor for the entire team of NTV World to have world-renowned researcher, physician, the Nobel laureate 2015, Professor Takaaki Kazuta. In this episode of Declassified, we tried to explore the cosmos, the universe, the findings of Japanese Nobel Prize-winning physics professor Takaaki Kazuta. I know for many of us, the findings of the research that Professor Takaaki Kazuta made may not come to our day-to-day life, but the lesson from Professor is to the scientists, to the researchers, do not hesitate to do research. Do not look for immediate fruits. And for the government, please do make sizable investment in research so that the future of humanity can be shaped in a better way and the world can be a better place for all. Thank you so much for your presence in this episode of Declassified. Until next time, from the entire crew, it's me, Devendra Subedi, saying bye-bye.
In 18 species of turtles occurring or reported for Nepal, almost 80% found in Nepal are globally threatened. So we can imagine we need to conserve turtles. It's going to vanish very soon.
If you continue this process from Mechi to Mahakali, then one long this terrain belt will be the one green belt of the turtle conservation. These poisonous gases will generally block to reach to the Himalayan region. Then automatically the snow of mountain region will not melt, and then it will be saved as a legacy of Nepal.
We are trying our best to support to the media, local people, and other conservationists also to protect this turtle. And then local peoples are also kindly aware to protect, and if they found this kind of turtles, and they are requested to send over here, and we even for those people who bring turtles, we support them from different way from our side also.
Today, the world is stressed and overwhelmed by the crisis of global climate change. The unnecessary production of the greenhouse gases accelerating the global warming. And consequently, the Earth temperature is approaching and increasing to cross the threshold of 1.5 degrees Celsius of Paris agreements about the COP. Therefore, this is one of the very serious situation in the world. But in our own country's scenario, we have also facing some of the environmental problem. That is the rapid urbanizations and excessive combustion of the fossil gases, dust and smoke, and forest fires, and then the landslide, and then the floodings, etc. are poisoning the gases, poisoning the air. And as a result, the groundwater table of in the terrain region is falling and leading to the desertification. And likewise, in the mountain, And in the mountain region, the mountain streams are drying out, and it is converting into the barren land. And likely the snow of the Himalaya is melting and turning into the black rock. This is the very serious consequences found in Nepal. And therefore, how to mitigate such types of changes, which is facing not only in the world but also in our own country. So just in my mind, one thing occurred, that this would be prevented by the process of herpetofauna conservation. So my topic becomes the perspectives of global warming by herpetofauna conservation. This is my motto. This is my statement. And how it would be possible to conserve the nature, or so to mitigate the global warming. Herpetofauna, especially wetland living herpetofauna, and if we can choose amphibia, means that's the frog from hill stream frog from the amphibia, as well as the especially turtle from the reptilia. And these two groups of the herpetofauna, this mountain stream frog is called the paha, and the turtles are naturally, it lives in the Terai region, and both these this paha species as well as this turtle species, we can make it as a key species for conservation to climate adaptation program. Means if we have to do the climate adaptation work, then we can use these two species, especially paha species and turtle species, and they are also found in different regions. Pahas are found in the midland of Nepal, means in mountain regions, and these turtles are found in the Terai region. So now both have dual life cycles. In turtle, they are naturally they are the aquatic one, means they spend most of their life in the water. But during its breeding season, they have to come on land to lay egg, and thereafter, till it's hatching out, it has to live on the land. And when it becomes a small juvenile, then it again go back to the water to spend its individual life. This is the consequences. So these two things generally, both is this amphibia as well as the turtles. They need that they have the dual life cycle. So if such types of species can be conserved in situ, for 1 decade, then what will happen? Then the water, land, forest, and for biodiversity, they will be restored, and it will establish an ideal that is ideal wetland ecosystems. And this when ideal an ecosystem is just like, you can take, this is the example of this turtle, this Sukhani Memorial, this park. This is one example of these very things. It is the establishment of an ideal wetland ecosystem, herpetofauna conservation wetland ecosystem. Wetland ecosystem can be established, in this region, either in the mountain region or in the Terai region. When this newly formed wetland is occurred, then what will happen? This dry ground of in the Terai region will recharge, and then one of the green turtle conservation that is the belt will be established there. And these kinds of if we continue this process from Mechi to Mahakali, then one long this terrain belt will be the one green belt of the turtle conservation. In this case, this belt will help to neutralize and to neutralize and purify the toxic air blowing to the Himalayan regions. These poisonous gases will generally block to reach to the Himalayan region. Then automatically the snow of mountain region will not melt, and then it will be safe as a legacy of Nepal.
This park was established for the beautiful tourist destination, because this is very beautiful area also to visit for the tourists. Around 2 lakhs, more than 2 lakhs persons they visit this park annually. This is the only park which is given this authority by the government of Nepal to protect the turtles, and we are trying our best in this course, and we have tried our best to make conscious people for the protection and conservation of the turtles. Then this area is very famous to find the different turtles. We are trying our best to support to the media, local people and other conservationists also to protect this turtle. And then local peoples are also kindly aware to protect, and if they found this kind of turtles, and they are requested to send over here, and we even for those people who bring turtles, we support them from different way from our side also.
As per recent data, there are 369 species of turtles in the world. In Nepal, recently, some researchers from Western Nepal, from Koilali district, they recorded a new species of turtle for Nepal. It's called Indian star tortoise. Considering that in Nepal there are 18 species and 2 subspecies, we can say so 18 species or 20 taxa of turtles are reported for Nepal. And in our conservation center, there are 9 species, and that 9 species also includes one foreign species or one invasive species. Previously, it was very popular in pet trade. Generally, people they keep it as pet for some time, and when it grows into adulthood, it's very difficult for them to care. At the same time, we regularly conduct awareness program, and they understand it is illegal to keep turtles, so they hand over to us. So we have 9 species of turtles in our center, and previously we used to keep or maintain almost 60 individuals of turtle. We have reduced it to 40, almost 40 individuals of turtles are maintained in our center. So I just wanted to say about the establishment of our center. Basically, this center was established as a joint venture program of Nepali organization, or this very organization is called Sukhani Martyrs Memorial Foundation. This Nepali organization and another scientific organization which is based in Germany is called Amphibian and Reptile Conservation Society of Nepal, or in short it's called ARCO Nepal. It's a joint venture program of these 2 organizations. This conservation center was established in 2012, and interestingly, it's a kind of pride for us. It is the only conservation center for turtle that is permitted by the Ministry of Forest and Environment in Nepal. So we have been continuously working from 2012 to till now. So what I would like to stress is that in 18 species of turtles occurring or reported for Nepal, almost 80%. That means almost 80%. That means if we just go into the depth, 77.78% of turtles found in Nepal are globally threatened. So we can imagine we need to conserve turtles. If we didn't conserve turtles, then it's going to vanish very soon. There are many ecological importance of turtles, so I just wanted to just give few points. The first thing is the aquatic turtles. They act as scavengers in wetland, like a vulture. It eats decayed materials or decayed dead bodies. In the same way, the aquatic turtles, those living in water body, they feeds on dead fishes or weak fishes or injured fishes, so it cleans the environment. Likewise, it is also helpful in seed dispersal, not only in seed dispersal but also fungal spore dispersal. So that's very interesting. Even it contributes in that part. Likewise, we can say the importance of turtles in food web is very much. That means many birds and many mammals, even the crabs, they feed on juveniles, that means babies of turtles. And even many mammals, many birds eat turtles eggs. So its importance in food web is also equally important. So we can say that. And the other very important thing, the very important ecological importance of turtle is it transfers energy from aquatic ecosystem to terrestrial ecosystem. That means most of the freshwater turtles, they live in some water body, but for breeding purpose, for laying eggs, they have to come out of water. So that means it lays eggs, that very eggs it sells. It is also a type of mineral. There are some minerals in that cell. Likewise, many animals and birds eat that egg. So they helps in transfer of energy from aquatic body to terrestrial ecosystem. Uh, Likewise, turtles are worshipped, or what to say, turtles are also worshipped in Eastern philosophy, like in Hindu mythology and all. This very turtle is called Kurma, that is reincarnation of God Vishnu. So in that way, culturally also, it carries this significance. This is brown roofed turtle. Its scientific name is Pangsura smithi. Actually, this turtle is found in Kosi River, and it was rescued from that place. And this is male. Males are very small, whereas the females are almost 3 to 5 times larger than this. So we have rescued this turtle from Kosi. Actually, some people from Dholabari, they had kept this turtle, and we convinced them that it is illegal to keep turtles. So they hand over it to us. And talking about its food, it is omnivorous. Though some scientists claim it to be vegetarian, but in our experience, it feeds on both plant matters and also flesh. So it's very cute. Basically, it likes to bask on the stone. So in this habitat, you can see there is a stone. There is a dry stone. So whenever the sun shines or it is hot, it likes to come out over the stone and it basks over there. But since their size is very small and they live in large wetlands, we need to clean this water almost 2 or 3 days. In 2 or 3 days, if we didn't clean the water regularly, so infection may occur. So it is sensitive, and we need to care a lot to this species. So you can see this is tricarinate hill turtle, and its scientific name is Melanocalis tricarinata. You can see there are 3 peculiar lines. Based on these lines are keels. It's also called keels. These prominent lines. Based on this peculiar feature, it's called tricarinate hill turtle. This turtle is found from western to central Nepal. It's very rare in eastern Nepal. There are no specific record of this specimen from eastern Nepal. So this is male. You can see generally the male has longer tail. You can see from here, and its carapace. This you can see this plastron is concave. That means this is male and it is used for copulation. It facilitates copulation. And we have been keeping this turtle, or we have rescued this turtle for more than 5 years. We have kept this turtle. And interestingly, this is male. It's small. The female is much larger than male, and it is enlisted as endangered in IUCN Red List. So that's why we have kept it here. And you can see its habitat. In our experience, though some scientists claim it to be terrestrial, but in our experience, it is semi-terrestrial. That means we need to keep water body for this species. So if it wants to stay on land or on terrestrial side, it can go there, or if it wants to live in water, it can go it there. So this is its habitat. ठुलो छ पनि This is Indian flapshell turtle. Its scientific name is Lysimis punctata, and its subspecies is andersoni, or its scientific name is Lysimis punctata andersoni. This is a soft shell turtle. You can see it doesn't have hard shell. Its shell is covered with a leather skin, so you can see it's beautiful, and it has got yellow spots. So it is called sometimes it's called spotted turtle as well. And this is female. This is it is an adult female. It is the maximum size. It is almost 2 kg. You can see it's very big. It's very large. And this is female. Generally, the female has roundish shape. Well, the male is a little bit elongated. So, in our experience, we can assume it to be female. But generally, some people they say they have kept turtles or they have been rearing turtles, but they might not be able to identify whether it's male or female. But it's female, and at the same time, it has shorter tail because the cloaca does not come out of this plastron. And the other interesting thing about this turtle is it has got flaps. You can see over here. Whenever I touch its feet, it hides inside. That is, it has got flap. So it has a unique characteristics. Well, many of the turtles they cannot hide their forelimbs inside their shell. So it has got flaps. So it is called flap shell. You can say, and the interesting you can see, generally while handling this turtle, generally they don't try to bite or do some kind of harm, but sometimes you can see here it secretes yellowish substance. That is its peculiar behavior. We can say that it is anti-predator behavior. That is to escape from predator. You can see over there it secretes yellowish substance, which is a bit type of a kind of irritating substance. So it's a adult female. It's listed in. It is also threatened. It is categorized as vulnerable in IUCN Red List. So it's beautiful. It is omnivorous. Previously, it used to occur in all the Tarai belt, in most of the wetlands, in paddy fields, even in the canals. But now, due to its habitat loss, and many people or some people, even many people, they catch it, some consume it, some even keep them as pet. So it is threatened. Now its population is decreasing a lot. Previously, it used to be found in many places in the Tarai belt. Basically, this very species, previously, almost 10 years ago, I had done a survey. And while rescuing the turtles, 80% of the people, they want to consume it. But now, people know turtles are conserved or it's protected by law. So generally, they hand over it to us. It's interesting. It's aquatic turtle. We can see its limbs. It has webbing. No, there are lots of webbing. So in Nepali, many people call it putali, putali kachwa, because of its very beautiful. Yeah, like butterfly, it's very beautiful, and its yellow spot looks really, really beautiful, and it can withdraw its neck is very long, and its nose. You can see its nose is a little bit elongated. It's called proboscis. It's very ancient creature. As per some scientists claim or in many literatures they have written these very turtles. It has existed in Earth for more than 220 million years ago. So it's very ancient creature. And interestingly, this very turtle, its morphology has not changed a lot. It's almost similar to what was found more than 2 million years ago, and almost its morphology is almost similar. But due to human activities and all, habitat loss, and due to human activities, now its population is degrading a lot. So that's why we need to protect it. It's a kind of a kind of pride to become his student. because I worked with him for a very long time, almost for more than 25 years, 26 years, almost more than just, almost 25 years I have worked under him. So Professor Kambu, this very center, it's established as per his idea, because when he was doing PhD in early 2000s, he surveyed all this area. He surveyed not only turtles but also all the reptiles and amphibians. And during his fieldwork, he find out this very lake. It's called Budoholi, but now people call it Vincent Pokori, but its original name is Budoholi. This Budoholi was also a nice habitat for turtles. And even if we ask to the old people, old inhabitant of this very area, they say they used to kill very large size of turtles. Even this tortoise was also found, but in that wetland, especially the large Nilsonia species used to occur in this place. And after consuming its flesh its shell is hard, so that shell it does not, since it is made up of it is made up of hard shell, is very hard, and it does not decay easily. So they used to use that shell as a feeding bowl for cattle. So we can imagine how large turtles used to occur in this place. So he imagined this very site or this area can also be developed as a turtle conservation center. So he talked with the Germany organization, that Arco Nepal, and he even discussed with this local organization, and he initiated this organization in 2012. Now we are working under his legacy, so it feels very kind of privilege or kind of pride to work under him. And regarding that nomenclature in his name, actually his name is named in a gecko. Gecko means a kind of lizard. Is that very lizard was recently described by his colleagues and students. So he has immensely contributed in herpetofauna study, not only in herpetofauna study, but conservation of herpetofauna in Nepal. And some colleagues and his students have acknowledged him by giving a new gecko name as Cetodactylus khambui. So I think that is the right thing to acknowledge him, I think.
Yeah, this one I would like to thank them, because they knew a little bit my attempt in the field of the herpetofauna, and they might have recognized me. So I'm grateful to them. The new species of the geckos, the Cetodactylus khambui, this name just was given with my name. Then actually this is the ecologically it will be the one of the milestones.
Basically, we are working on educating the people, because many people are not aware. Turtles are also protected animals, and it should be conserved or it should be protected. So many people are not aware. But besides from that, most of the forestry students and biology students who are interested in biodiversity, and particularly who are interested in reptiles, and inside that who are interested in turtles, it is the suitable place, because it is the very center where you can see 9 or 10 species of turtles in a center, where you can study its even you can study its morphology, its habitat. So most of the researchers or the students who are interested in biodiversity, and particularly in reptiles, they come here. And besides from that, many researchers, foreign researchers who are involved in turtle conservation and turtle breeding, they visit our place, because we are the largest conservation center in Nepal for turtles. So journalists come to exchange of ideas, what we are doing and what they are doing. They just basically, each and every turtle species, they have their unique habitat. So we try to copy nature. That means, for example, this is land tortoise. This is tortoise, or it's called land turtle. It is called elongated tortoise. This entirely lives on land. So, and its natural habitat is salt forest. It is found in Tarai and also in Shivalik region. So what kind of habitat it is required, what kind of habitat or what kind of features, what kind of water body, what kind of elevation is required, which species of fruits it is in its natural habitat, we try to plant or we try to create such kind of infrastructure or such type of habitat for these creatures. So it goes the same with aquatic turtles as well. The first thing is still many people are not aware, though we have been working passionately for more than a decade. I would like to inform that we give education program free of cost. If somebody is interested, they need to come in a group, 10 to 20 groups, and just I'll give my time, we'll take to the seminar hall and I give lectures and I'll show them live turtles. But still many people are not aware it is protected.
We have done a practical regarding ex situ conservation, like how the animals will conserve in this area in regard of their natural habitat. This center focus on conservation, rehabilitation and management of turtles.
For my fourth final project, I have chosen a topic, description and translocation of rescued turtle at TRCC. For my final year project, my objective are to observe the turtle that are conserved in TRCC and so to document the morphometric measurement of turtle and to access the water quality and to spread the awareness program.
I'm engaged with the Turtle Rescue and Conservation Center in many ways. Firstly, through the campus, we students from Department of Environment Science, Meiji multiple campus are here for our practical works, field visit, including many topics like the conservation of turtle and community forest and others. In aquatic ecosystem, turtle plays a very great role. It feeds upon the decayed organic matter of aquatic ecosystem and makes aquatic system healthy for other aquatic organisms as well.
TRCC is one of the conservation and rescue center. So conservation of turtle is obviously doing here, and for the purpose of the rescue from throughout in Nepal, there comes the information about if there is abundant turtle or anything that needs help from the TRCC. Experts are always ready for the rescue, and for the conservation program purpose, different awareness programs and different field activities were done on the occasion of different wetland day, conservation days. Programs are also conducted.
So awareness needs to be maintained. And the other thing is, what we have been emphasizing is that though it is protected, but turtles of Nepal are not legally protected like tiger, elephant and all. So people do lots of negligence. They think it's just a turtle. I can keep it as pet. I can consume it. I can do some type of trade. So that's the problem. So we have been emphasizing and we have been reporting. We are giving reports and we are sharing our experience to the forest officials. At least turtles should also be legally protected like other mammals, larger mammals like tigers, like elephants and all. So people will look this very beautiful creature with respect. Otherwise, it's very difficult. We'll create awareness program. We'll teach them. We'll show them. We'll tell them about its ecological importance, even the cultural significance, and then still people exploit this beautiful creature. So that's the major challenge. The other thing I would like to share, since we are a community managed center, our sustenance is also a challenge.
The U.S. has conducted new strikes in Iran following a drone attack on a Panama-flagged vessel in the Strait of Hormuz on Saturday. U.S. Central Command CENTCOM said it hit multiple targets across Iran in direct response to continued aggression against commercial shipping. In retaliation, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, said it has launched missiles and drones at U.S. infrastructure in Kuwait and Bahrain. It also warned of a crossing response to further strikes. Following the exchange of fire, the U.S. and Iran have accused each other of violating the ceasefire agreement. It said U.S. fighter jets conducted strikes on 10 Iranian military targets at multiple locations in and near the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said the Strait of Hormuz remains under total Iranian control for the next 30 days and any U.S. attacks will only hamper the situation.
من از همه طرف‌ها درخواست می‌کنم که در موضوع مدیریت تنگه هرمز و ترتیباتی که برای بازگشایی تنگه هرمز از سوی جمهوری اسلامی ایران اتخاذ میشه دخالت نکنند، به یادداشت تفاهم امضا شده پایبند باشند و اجازه ندهند که این یادداشت تفاهم از مسیر خودش خارج بشه.
Araghchi's remarks came during a press conference in Baghdad as he is visiting neighboring Iraq amid heightened regional tensions, with both countries expected to discuss security cooperation and recent geopolitical developments. The death toll from the two devastating earthquakes that struck Venezuela on Wednesday had risen to 1,430, the country's National Assembly President Jorge Rodriguez had said. Speaking on state television, Rodriguez said that 3,238 people had been injured in the quake and 3,142 families have been affected by the disaster. After the powerful 7.2 magnitude and 7.5 magnitude earthquakes which rocked Venezuela within seconds of each other, the Latin American country has recorded 430 light to moderate aftershocks, Rodriguez said in the latest government update on the national emergency. He also said tens of thousands of people are still working around the clock on search and rescue operations. Rodriguez also said that 60% of the power supply in the hardest hit state of La Guaira has been restored, along with improvements in water supply in some areas, and the Venezuelan government has deployed over 100 heavy machinery units to help in road clearing efforts and enhance the search operations. Europe has witnessed another day of extreme heat with temperature records being broken across the continent again on Saturday. Germany set a new all-high for the second day in a row as temperatures reached 41.5 degrees Celsius according to provisional data. On Saturday, records also fell in Denmark and the Czech Republic as the unprecedented early summer heatwave moved further north and east, affecting more people. An estimated 150 million people in Europe are now experiencing temperatures of over 35 degrees Celsius. The World Meteorological Organization has warned the heatwave would have major impacts to health and ecosystems. The heatwave, which began in the Iberian Peninsula, has been linked to deaths of hundreds of people over the past week. Scientists say a heatwave of this magnitude so early in the summer would have been virtually impossible 50 years ago. Researchers at Turkey's Agri Ibrahim Ceyhan University are using zebrafish to accelerate the study of human diseases and evaluate potential new drug treatments. Scientists say the small freshwater fish share about 70% of their genes with humans and can model more than 80% of known human diseases, making them a key tool in biomedical research. At the university's Aquatic Organisms Lab, researchers exposed zebrafish embryos to experimental pharmaceutical compounds for 96 hours before examining them under a microscope for signs of tissue damage and toxic effects. The results are used to assess the safety and potential effectiveness of new drug candidates, supporting research into conditions including epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, hypertension, and metabolic disorders. Researchers say the work would help streamline early-stage drug development while reducing reliance on traditional animal testing. From the ancient archaeological site of Nisha to the marble-clad capital of Ashgabat, Turkmenistan is cautiously opening its doors to international tourism after decades of tight restrictions and relative isolation. Officials have announced plans this year to expand the country's tourism sector, signaling a gradual shift aimed at attracting more foreign visitors and showcasing both its cultural heritage and modern architectural landscape. The opening comes as the government seeks to diversify its economy beyond energy exports, though tourism remains highly regulated with limited access and controlled travel routes still in place for most visitors. There is also growing curiosity among international travelers about one of Central Asia's most closed-off countries. Officials say the expansion will be gradual and carefully managed, balancing increased openness with continued oversight of foreign tourism activity. The improved access is expected to help reshape global perceptions of Turkmenistan, long known for its policies linked to isolation. However, the success of the initiative will depend on how far authorities are willing to ease long-standing restrictions on foreign visitors.
Hundreds of spectators gathered in the remote outback town of Maree in South Australia for the annual Maree Camel Cup, a desert racing event featuring camels described by handlers as high-strung and difficult to control during competition. The event, held in a settlement with a population of just 65 and located nearly 600 kilometers north of Adelaide, featured a full program of 13 races showcasing camels that have been part of Australia's outback history since their introduction in the mid-19th century. Organizers said the animals, many of which are bred or trained locally, are known for unpredictable bursts of speed and temperament, often making the races as chaotic as they are competitive. Riders and handlers competed in short sprint races on a dirt track with animals frequently veering offline or slowing abruptly, requiring constant adjustment from jockeys. Officials describe the competition as both a sporting event and a community gathering that provides a rare economic and social boost to the isolated township. The Maree Camel Cup has become a recurring attraction for the region, drawing visitors from across South Australia and beyond despite its remote location.
The 2026 Hong Kong International Dragon Boat Championship has been held, bringing together 4,500 athletes from over 16 countries to the waterfront for the opening races. The event marks the 50th anniversary of the championship, with over 220 teams competing in 500-meter races using standard 20-meter dragon boats. Athletes from around the world describe the competition as both a test of skill and a chance to build team confidence as crowds gathered along the harbour to watch the action. Organizers also revived the Fisherman Invitational Cup, featuring 6 local teams racing traditional wooden boats as part of the anniversary celebrations, with the festival continuing over the weekend. The festival highlights Hong Kong's role as a major international hub for dragon boat racing and cultural tourism.
Hundreds of Balinese carry long wooden poles through the streets of Mungu village, accompanied by the rhythm of traditional music of Kuningan Day, one of the holiest celebrations in Balinese Hinduism. The ritual, known as Mekotek, takes its name from the sharp tek-tek-tek sound produced when the poles, traditionally crafted from locally sourced hewed wood, crash together as participants try to create a moving tower. Beyond its spiritual purpose of warding off misfortune, oral tradition believes that Mekotek commemorates the victory by the old Balinese kingdom of Mengwi over a Javanese kingdom in battle in the 17th to 18th century. The procession moved slowly through the village as participants dressed in ceremonial attire formed shifting clusters that swayed with the rhythm of drums and gongs echoing through narrow streets. Despite the controlled chaos of clashing poles, organizers and community elders closely supervised the ritual to ensure safety while preserving its symbolic intensity. Local residents lined the route to observe the ceremony, which is both a religious observance and a reaffirmation of communal identity passed down through generations. As the structures of interlocked wood briefly rose and collapsed, participants said the act represented unity, resilience, and protection against negative forces in the coming year. An Eastern China amphitheater hosted a rare pop public demonstration of Guanyu, a centuries-old form of bull wrestling, as concerns grow over the sport's long-term survival amid limited funding and declining participation. In a recent competition, wrestler Swang engaged a bull in a controlled grappling match using shoulder leverage and horn control techniques to force the animal into a kneeling position. The bout took place on compacted earth inside a partially covered venue, where conditions remain basic and largely unchanged from earlier regional events. It is believed to have dated back more than 600 years and is participated only sporadically in a handful of communities. Despite its historical roots, it has little institutional support and minimal public visibility within China. Participants are typically students or part-time trainees who enter competitions intermittently. Organizers say the lack of sponsorship, formal training infrastructure, and media coverage has made it difficult for practitioners to pursue the discipline professionally. Spectator turnout remains modest, and engagement during events is limited, with many attendees treating the matches as cultural demonstration rather than competitive sport.
Thousands of people filled the streets of Mexico City for the annual Pride Parade, a large-scale demonstration marking LGBTQ+ visibility while also highlighting ongoing demands for legal equality and protection against discrimination. The march brought together activists, community organizations, families, and allies who moved through major central avenues carrying rainbow flags, banners, and signs calling for expanded rights for transgender and non-binary people, stronger anti-discrimination enforcement, and improved access to healthcare and legal recognition. Organizers said this year's mobilization placed particular emphasis on the experiences of transgender and non-binary communities who continue to face disproportionate levels of violence, exclusion, and institutional barriers in Mexico and across the region. Many participants also used the event to demand greater family acceptance and social inclusion, stressing the importance of support systems in reducing stigma and mental health challenges. Officials deployed security personnel along the route to manage traffic and ensure the crowd's safety, while city officials acknowledged the event as one of the largest public demonstrations in the capital, drawing participants from Mexico and abroad. Despite the festive atmosphere, many attendees said the march remains both a celebration and a political statement, reflecting ongoing struggles for equality and recognition in everyday life.
Good evening, I am Siksha Bhattrai welcoming you on Business World. Global markets and geopolitics are converging once again as energy, technology and trade tensions shape the economic outlook across regions. From climate warnings over artificial intelligence to rising geopolitical friction and corporate shake-ups, we begin with a major call from the United Nations on the future of technology and energy. Iran has exported around 18 million barrels of crude oil in just 5 days, according to the maritime data. The increase comes amid shifting regional arrangements aimed at stabilizing trade routes. Analysts say the development could impact global supply flows and price stability in energy markets.
Iran exported nearly 18 million barrels of crude oil worth an estimated $1.44 billion over the past 5 days, according to maritime intelligence firm Tanker Trackers. The increase in shipments follows the signing of a memorandum of understanding between Iran and the United States aimed at easing tensions and restoring maritime trade. Iran said several oil tankers had passed through the Gulf of Oman into international waters in the past 24 hours, with additional exports expected in the coming days. Under the agreement, the United States has lifted its naval blockade on Iranian maritime traffic, while Iran has pledged to ensure safe passage for commercial vessels between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman for an initial 60-day period. Iran has also waived transit fees through the Strait of Hormuz for commercial ships during the same period, signaling a potential easing of regional trade disruptions.
Staying with geopolitics, we move now to rising tensions between the world's two largest economies. China has imposed export controls on several U.S. companies linked to defense and critical minerals. The move comes in response to expanded U.S. restrictions on Chinese firms.
China has imposed export controls on 10 U.S. companies tied to defense and rare earths mining in retaliation for Washington's expanded blacklist of Chinese companies, according to the Commerce Ministry. The controls bar exporters from supplying them with dual-use items and requiring that any ongoing exports stop immediately. The move follows a U.S. blacklist released this month, naming 80 companies it accused of helping the Chinese military, including Alibaba, Baidu, and BYD, which had prompted Beijing to threaten retaliation. Separately, China's finance ministry banned public procurement agencies from buying products made by 46 U.S. companies, effective from Monday, though companies with U.S. investments operating in China are exempted.
From global trade tensions, we now turn to Washington, where foreign policy and economic messaging are once again intersecting. U.S. President Donald Trump says recent U.S. action in Venezuela has generated strong economic returns through oil production. He made the comments during a speech at a manufacturing plant in Pennsylvania.
U.S. President Donald Trump was in a boastful mood on Wednesday, visiting the Mack truck manufacturing facility in Macungie, Pennsylvania, where he celebrated what he called a lightning-fast military operation in Venezuela, claiming the U.S. had already recouped the cost of the conflict nearly 28 times over through oil revenues extracted from the country.
We created the strongest military in history, and you see that with Venezuela. Venezuela, one-day operation, great. Good army. And now we're making a lot of money with Venezuela, and Venezuela is doing great also. It's a happy country now. But it took us exactly 48 minutes to win that war. We have the greatest military in the world, 48 minutes. And we've paid for the cost of the war. Where do you hear this? 28 times already. More, but 28 times. So the cost of the war, we've already, because we brought millions of barrels of oil out, and we're getting along great. The people running it, they're our people, they're great people.
From U.S. politics, we shift now to Europe, where economic pressure continues to weigh on growth. Business activity across the Eurozone remains in contraction, although the pace of decline has eased slightly. The data suggests stabilization, but weak demand continues to pressure the region.
The European Central Bank has secured key parliamentary backing for the launch of a digital euro, an electronic means of payments aimed at making the Eurozone less reliant on United States credit cards at a time of fraying transatlantic relationships. The digital euro, essentially an electronic wallet guaranteed by the central bank but marketed by banks or fintech companies, will allow all Eurozone residents to make payments online and in person. 6 years in the making, the ECB's digital cash has become a more pressing issue since Donald Trump returned to the White House, slapping tariffs on even established trade partners such as the European Union and raising fears that the United States could one day weaponize its dominance over payment networks like Visa and MasterCard. The approval of draft rules by the Economic Committee of the European Parliament comes after 3 years of wrangling between the ECB and banks, which has been concerned about deposit outflows and lost revenues and sought to limit the scope of the project.
Turning to corporate developments in Asia, we look at one of India's biggest financial events in the making. Reliance Jio Platforms has filed for a major initial public offering in India. The listing could become one of the largest in the country's market history. Analysts say the move could significantly expand investor exposure to India's digital economy.
Reliance Industries telecom unit Geo Platforms has filed a draft prospectus for an initial public offering that analysts say could rank among India's largest share sales, as announced by Chairman Mukesh Ambani at the company's annual shareholder meeting. The board has reportedly already approved the draft prospectus. Media reports estimate the IPO will raise around $4 billion. Geo Platforms, which spans businesses from artificial intelligence to enterprise network services, is best known for its subsidiary Geo Infocom, which is India's largest telecom operator with more than 500 million subscribers. The listing would mark Reliance's first major public offering since Reliance Petroleum went public in 2006.
From markets in Asia, we move to the global tech sector, where consumers are facing rising cost pressures. Apple has warned that rising memory chip cost could push up iPhone prices. The company says supply constraints are tightening due to strong demand from AI data centers.
Apple CEO Tim Cook warned this week that price increases on the company's devices are unavoidable, comparing the global memory chip shortage to a 100-year flood. The crisis, dubbed Ramageddon, stems from AI companies snapping up memory chips for their data centers at such a pace that smartphone and PC makers are left competing for whatever remains, with smartphone manufacturers potentially facing a 12% shortfall in memory chips, equivalent to around 134 million units. Cook said memory prices have risen more than sixfold over the last year, stressing that the company needed memory pricing and supply to return to reasonable levels for consumer products, calling it the bottom line. The price hike announcements come as Cook prepares to step down as Apple's CEO on September 1st, handing over the reins to John Ternus, meaning it will fall to his successor to navigate one of the most challenging pricing environments in the company's history.
Staying with technology, we turn to major restructuring in the global software industry. Oracle has cut more than 20,000 jobs as part of a global restructuring drive. The company says artificial intelligence is reshaping its workforce needs.
Oracle said about 21,000 roles globally in the last year as the US technology giant reshapes its business around artificial intelligence (AI). The firm's latest annual report shows the software and cloud computing firm says it had around 141,000 full-time employees as of 31st May 2026, down from about 162,000 workers at the same time last year. The deployment of AI technologies across our operations have resulted, and many continue to result in reductions to our workforce, the report says. The cuts, which amount to about 13% of Oracle's workforce, are part of a wider trend among tech firms as they spend hundreds of billions of dollars on building AI infrastructure like data centers. Amazon and Facebook owner Meta have got thousands of jobs in recent months as they invest heavily in AI.
Away from corporate restructuring, we now move to labor and migration issues in Southeast Asia. Malaysia has pledged stronger protections for Bangladeshi migrant workers following concerns over exploitation. Authorities say reforms are needed to improve transparency in recruitment systems.
Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim pledged to strengthen protections for Bangladeshi migrant workers who make up roughly 800,000 of the country's foreign workforce. This follows reports of unpaid wages and recruitment scams. Speaking alongside Bangladeshi Prime Minister Tariq Rahman during Rahman's first foreign trip since taking office in February, Anwar called labor cooperation critical for their survival and said exploitation of workers for personal or corporate gain cannot be tolerated. Rahman urged that recruitment practices be made transparent, fair and affordable, calling for a reduction in the number of intermediaries. The pledge follows a warning late last year from UN human rights experts who flagged continued exploitation, deception and deepening debt bondage facing Bangladeshi workers in Malaysia.
Now to South Asia, where agriculture exports are feeling the impact of regional instability. Pakistan's mango exporters are facing a difficult season due to rising shipping costs and regional tensions. Export volumes are expected to decline significantly this year. Producers warn that weaker Gulf demand could affect the wider agricultural supply chain.
Laborers harvesting mangoes in Pakistan's southern growing regions are facing a difficult export season as geopolitical tensions in the Middle East disrupt trade and raise transportation costs. Pakistan, one of the world's leading mango producers, relies heavily on agricultural exports for foreign exchange earnings, making the sector particularly vulnerable to disruptions in international markets. Exporters and traders say overseas shipments of Pakistan's signature fruit are expected to decline by at least 30% this year, citing weaker demand in key Gulf markets and sharply higher freight expenses. The downturn comes as the Middle East crisis continues to affect regional trade flows, increasing costs for shipping companies and creating uncertainty for importers across the Gulf. It is said reduced export volumes could impact growers, traders, and logistics providers throughout the supply chain during one of the country's most important fruit harvesting seasons.
From agriculture to tourism, we turn to the Indian Ocean region where recovery continues. The Maldives is expecting stronger tourist arrivals in the coming months. Daily visitor numbers have already risen as recovery momentum builds. Authorities say expanded air links and new campaigns will support further growth.
The Maldives is expecting higher tourist arrivals in the third and fourth quarters of this year compared to earlier months, according to Tourism and Civil Aviation Minister Mohammed Amin. Speaking after an event at Velana International Airport, marking the arrival of the country's 1 millionth tourist for the year, the minister said average daily arrivals have risen to over 5,000 visitors. The government has set a target of 2.5 million tourist arrivals for the year, though officials acknowledge that early momentum was affected by unrest in the Middle East and disruptions to airline connectivity. He added that upcoming promotional campaigns in China and Russia, along with expanded air services agreements, are expected to further boost arrivals in the coming months.
And finally, tonight, a major development in the United Kingdom involving royal finances and transparency. King Charles will publicly disclose his personal tax payments for the first time in modern history. The move is part of efforts to increase transparency around royal finances. The disclosure will include income from estates and private investments.
King Charles will become Britain's first monarch in modern times to reveal his personal tax bill. Buckingham Palace says the move is part of a modernizing drive for greater transparency and to encourage wider understanding of our accountability. The move will make public the King's tax payments for the previous year 2024-25 and will include tax on his income, such as profits from the Duchy of Lancaster, any personal investments, and earnings from the King's private estates. It also follows calls for more openness with regard to royal finances following scandals surrounding Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
And that brings us to the end of Business World tonight. From global energy markets and geopolitical tensions to corporate restructuring and economic shifts, it has been a week reflecting a rapidly changing global economy. We will continue tracking all these developments as they unfold. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Welcome to the Hinterlands on NTV World. This weekly show brings together stories from the hinterlands of Nepal, takes you beyond the cities and highways into the heart of Nepal's rural landscapes. I am Rosina Rai. Let's begin from Pokhara Kaski. The government's nationwide campaign against illegal structures is gaining momentum. In Pokhara, government authority has intensified operations in key public areas, triggering both the controversy and concern as authorities push ahead with efforts to reclaim public land and improve urban management. More in this report. Pokhara metropolitan city has begun demolishing structures at Prithvi Chowk to pave the way for a modern bus park project. Nearly 2 months after issuing a 35-day public notice, the Metropolis deployed bulldozers to remove already vacated structures. According to Municipal Police Chief Purushottam Thapa, around 200 structures in the area have been demolished.
जग्गा उपलब्ध गराइसकेपछि यही तरिकाबाट उहाँहरूले आफ्नो तरिकाबाट खाली गरिदिन्छ त्यो अनुसार हामी अगाडि बढ्छौं.
The drive was carried out after consultations and agreements with local stakeholders and residents, adding that remaining structures would also be removed through mutual understanding. Following the notice, the Metropolitan Office had formed 2 committees to identify and manage landless squatters and to arrange alternative land. The Land Identification Committee has recommended 6 possible locations for resettlement. Meanwhile, a separate verification committee has received 572 applications claiming landless status. Of these, around 250 have already been verified through Land Information Management System and District Administration Office records. Preliminary checks suggest that about 10 to 15% of applicants may actually own land elsewhere. With the clearing of encroached areas now underway, hopes are rising that Pokhara may finally see long-awaited construction of a modern and well-equipped bus park at Prithvi Chowk. Every year, thousands of Nepali nationals leave home in search for better opportunities abroad. But many depart without the skills, information or preparation needed for safe foreign employment. This week, we traveled to Sangja district to examine the risk behind this continuing trend. Digging deeper in this report.
More than 61,000 labor approvals were issued between May 15 and June 14 this year alone by the Department of Foreign Employment. Of these, only 63 were for highly skilled workers, while the majority were issued for skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled workers. Behind these figures lies a continuing trend of Nepali youths seeking employment abroad, often without sufficient preparation. Experts say that lack of information about destination countries, employers, legal procedures, and workers' rights continues to expose many migrants to serious risk. To help address this challenge, the Migrant Resource Center in Sangja district of Gandaki province has been providing counseling and information services to passport applicants and prospective migrant workers. The center offers guidance on labor approvals, employment contracts, required documents, and safe migration practices, helping make foreign employment more secure and informed.
वैदेशिक रोजगारमा जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ पहिले सम्बन्धित निकायसँग परामर्श गरेर बुझेर जाँदा चाहिँ एकदम राम्रो.
The demand for such services has continued to grow. In the current fiscal year alone, the center's office, limited within the district administration office, provided foreign employment-related counseling to 8,756 people. According to the center's records, 125 people from Sangja returned home during the same period after being cheated or facing various difficulties abroad. out. Among them, 61 reported not receiving wages for work they had completed, while 34 were forced to return before finishing their contracts. The support desk has also been assisting the families of 30 workers who lost their lives overseas.
न्यायको लागि सहजीकरण पनि गर्छौं खास गरी यो ठगीको क्षेत्र मान्छेहरु कसरी ठगिनु भएको छ यहाँ आइसकेपछि हामीले उहाँहरुको डकुमेन्टेसन गर्नेदेखि लिएर उहाँहरुलाई सम्बन्धित निकायमा न्याय दिने निकायमा हामीले उहाँहरुलाई सिफारिस गर्नेदेखि लिएर डकुमेन्टेसन काम सहजीकरणको काम गर्छौं.
While the Migrant Resource Center's efforts have helped promote safer migration practices at the district level, officials say many people are still leaving for foreign employment without seeking proper counseling or legal guidance. They stress that lasting change will require stronger coordination among the federal, provincial, and local governments to expand awareness programs and counseling services down to the ward and community level. It is high time that the government ensured more dignified and safer foreign employment, which is the country's major source of foreign currency.
The tradition of crafting and using the traditional butter wooden pot known as teki in Nepal dates back thousands of years. Native to the country, this distinctive wooden vessel with a narrow neck has long played a central role in Nepal's dairy practices and culinary heritage, serving households since ancient times. In Dolakha, this centuries-old woodworking tradition is being kept alive by three brothers determined to preserve Nepal's cultural heritage. Here we present three brothers' inspiring story.
Continuing their ancestral occupation, three brothers from Dolakha are keeping alive the traditional craft of producing wooden household items. The three brothers, including Robin Chaudhara of Bhimeshwar Municipality Dolakha, have been preserving the fading tradition of making wooden products such as wooden churning pot, that is teki, and other household items. According to Hira Bahadur Chaudhara, they are continuing the profession practiced by their forefathers in order to preserve the family legacy and encourage their children and grandchildren to remain connected to the craft. The wooden churning pot, that is teki, remains their most demanded product and they even export it abroad.
नेपालको प्राय सबै जिल्लामा छ अनि बाहिर पनि लानुहुन्छ बाहिर जस्तै हाम्रो छिमेकी भारत त्यसैगरी चाइना बाट पनि अर्डर छ.
One of the brothers, Robin Chaudhara, says that while they previously traveled from village to village producing and selling these items, now with advancing technology, customers place their orders directly from their place.
धेरै जान्थ्यो ठेकीमाडा हेर्नु जस्तै 10 गते गुमखलामा हाट लाग्थ्यो जस्तै चोरीकोटमा लान्थ्यौ जस्तै गाउँ काटाकुटी मागा देउराली च्यामा हावा यो जिल्ला घुमाउँथ्यौ बोकेर.
Such products, once an inseparable part of rural daily life, have gradually declined due to the increasing use of plastic, steel, and silver utensils. The brothers have united to help preserve this traditional heritage. They say the cost of transportation has increased as they now have to travel long distances to find timber, which are raw materials for these products. Also, because there are only a fewer people engaged in farming and tree planting. With limited farmland available for cultivation, the Chaudhara family depends on this occupation for their livelihood and has formally registered and operated their own production industry. However, with people's growing interest in traditional wooden products, local authorities say they are continuing to support such skill-based enterprises. This ancestral craft not only preserves cultural heritage, but also promotes a sustainable lifestyle by encouraging the use of natural, eco-friendly alternatives to modern synthetic products.
From heritage to technology, a major milestone in Nepal's weather forecasting system. A newly operational weather radar center in Palpa district is expected to strengthen disaster preparedness by providing real-time weather monitoring across Lumbini and Gandaki provinces. A report.
Installed at Jaleshwar in Riptikot Rural Municipality of Palpa, the newly commissioned Weather Radar Center is now fully operational, marking a landmark moment in Nepal's regional meteorological infrastructure. Situated at an elevation of around 1,400 meters above sea level, the center provides real-time meteorological data, which is expected to be crucial for forecasting in the central and western regions of the country. Established by the Department of Hydrology and Meteorology, the facility is equipped with advanced radar technology capable of continuously monitoring rainfall intensity, cloud formations, storm activity, and other critical atmospheric conditions in real time. For the first time, Palpa, Lumbini Province, Gandaki Province, and surrounding districts now have direct access to live weather data, reducing dependence on forecasts from Kathmandu. Assistant Chief District Officer of Palpa, Rishiram Subedi, underscored the center's significance, stating it will play a vital role in disaster risk reduction, agricultural planning, and the management of both air and road transportation across the region. Meteorologists at the center say the system can detect developing rainfall systems well in advance, enabling timely early warnings for heavy precipitation, lightning strikes, and approaching storms. Locals say they, along with the security agencies, can now take timely precautions with the data, allowing communities to prepare before disaster strikes. The center is confident that the data generated from this facility will significantly improve the accuracy and reliability of weather forecasting across the Midwestern Hill region. Authorities say the Palpa Radar Center is expected to become a critical tool in Nepal's disaster management network, one that could help save lives and minimize losses.
And finally, we turn to the rivers of the Kathmandu Valley. Once central to the valley's civilization, now become heavily polluted and encroached upon. We visit the Dhobi Khola to explore why repeated restoration efforts have yet to bring lasting changes. The Dhobi Khola River, flowing through the heart of the capital, appears relatively cleaner within Kathmandu metropolitan city due to regular cleaning efforts and the removal of squatter settlements along its banks. However, the situation changes drastically as the river enters Buranilakanta municipality, where it turns heavily polluted, carrying solid waste and emitting a strong stench. Once home to native aquatic life, the river has long been under pressure from encroachment and unmanaged waste disposal. Following the removal of squatter settlements, the river's flow within Kathmandu has begun to regain a more natural course. But while conditions are improving in the metropolitan streets, the downstream section in Buranilakanta has effectively turned into an open drainage. This contrast raises serious concerns over environmental management and coordination among local governments in the Kathmandu Valley. Locals also fear that encroachment on the river's floodplain could lead to serious consequences during the monsoon season. Beyond flooding risk, the pollution poses a growing public health threat. Health experts meanwhile warn that the mixing of sewage and solid waste has endangered the river ecosystem and is also contaminating nearby groundwater sources.
बढ्दो बस्ने क्रमले चाहिँ हाम्रो अलिकति यो ढलको लागि चाहिँ व्यवस्थित गर्न सकेका छैनौं त्यो चाहिँ स्थानीय सरकारले मात्र चाहिँ त्यो स्थानीय सरकारको स्रोत साधनले मात्र चाहिँ पोसिबल हुँदैन अथवा सम्भव हुँदैन।
Although local authorities claim commitment to conserving and managing the Dhobi Khola, conditions on the ground suggest otherwise. The polluted streets in Buranilakanta continues downstream through Kathmandu metropolitan city before merging with the Bagmati River. Piles of waste along the riverbanks stand as a stark reminder of the neglect affecting the valley's historic river system. Without timely and coordinated action from all stakeholders, this river civilization risks being remembered only in the history. Beyond the cities and the headlines, real lives continue to unfold. Stories shaped by struggle, strengthened by resilience, and carried forward by hope. This is the Hinterlands, and we will come back next week with more stories from the heart of Nepal. Do follow us on our website, nepaltelevision.com, social media handles, and YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye for now.
In the natural splendor, the silver-like peaks or the Himalayas glisten. Cradling a pond filled with milk in its lap, the Numbur Himal gleams. The Dudkunda, meaning a milk pond in Nepal's northeastern district of Solukhumbu, is truly the gateway to the paradise. The Numbur, Katang and Karyalung mountains seem to smile at all times. Adorned with a garland of colorful flowers, the Dudkunda is overflowing as if filled with milk. The very sight defines nature at its best. Feels as if the Numbur mountain is giving motherly affection, holding the lake in its lap. The beauty is so serene and virgin that one fears not to stain it by touching. Indeed, Dudkunda is nature at its purest form. Located at Solu Dudkunda municipality, Taksindu, the natural paradise draws many visitors. No matter how many words are spent describing it, they all feel inadequate upon reaching there. The name itself is fulfilling and equally sacred.
हजारौं नरनारीहरू चाहिँ तीर्थयात्रीहरू दुधकुण्डमा जानुभएको छ। म पनि पुगेर आएँ। दुधकुण्ड असाध्यै पवित्र स्थल, यो हिमाल काखमा रहेको तीर्थस्थल हो, पुण्यस्थल हो, देवस्थल हो र त्यहाँ चाहिँ एकचोटि पुग्नै पर्दो रहेछ। त्यहाँ पुगेर जुन आनन्दको अनुभूति हुन्छ यो चाहिँ कहीँ पनि पाइँदैन भन्ने चाहिँ महसुस भयो।
आनन्द लाग्यो, भएन मस्त लाग्यो। अनि यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ आएर तपस्या गरेर बस्नु जस्तो लाग्यो मलाई।
एकदमै राम्रो लाग्यो हैन, प्रकृतिले दिएको रमणीय तीर्थस्थल हैन, जो कोही पनि एकचोटि चाहिँ यहाँ आएर एकचोटि भ्रमण गरेर दर्शन गर्नुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्यो।
Situated at an altitude of 4,531 meters above the sea level, Dudkunda is a sacred pilgrimage site of culture and nature. It feels like nature has blessed this place, and culturally, it has bound all castes and ethnicities in a thread of unity. There are various legends and sayings about Dudkunda. One argument is that the pond was formed during the creation of the Himalayas and was discovered by local sheep and yak herders. According to another legend, in ancient times, A yak would go to a stone where the pond is located and offer its milk every day. Later, the place was found to be a pond filled with milk, leading to its name, Dudh Kunda. This has also led to the belief that gods and goddesses reside here. There are 3 different routes to reach Dudh Kunda. One route is through Salleri, Faplu, Taksindu and Sasra Beni. Another route goes via Lukla, the gateway to the Everest, through Nunthala, Taksindu and Sahasra Beni. Nature has truly blessed the Solu Dudh Kunda municipality. Truly, just like the majestic Mount Everest, Dudh Kunda has the potential to be the destination for everyone in the days to come. It is a thread of unity among all castes and ethnicities. Just like the holy water of Dudh Kunda, it will become a pure and excellent destination.
Pokhara is undoubtedly #1 destination for tourists in Nepal. The valley, blessed with natural beauty, attracts domestic and foreign tourists alike. You must have already visited Pokhara. If you haven't or planning another trip, then these are some of the must-go places in Pokhara. The first attraction in Pokhara is the Feva Lake. Boating in Feva Lake is a ritual for every tourist visiting this paradise. The Tal Barahi temple at the center of the lake adds to the beauty of the place. A round-trip boat ride in Feva Lake to and from the temple is a feature of both the lake as well as the temple. Separate boat ride, watching the reflection of Mount Machapuchre on the lake and fishing spice up the Feva experience. The lakeside along the banks of the Feva Lake is a popular tourist hub. Many tourists in Pokhara choose Devi's Fall as their second destination in Pokhara. The water from Feva Lake exits towards Seti River through the Gupteshwar cave from this Devi's Fall. The mighty water stream rushing deep down into the gorge, covered by water vapor, is a magical sight. Pokhara is known as the city of lakes and caves. Many of the lakes and caves have religious importance. This is Gupteshwar cave at Chorepatan area. Inside the cave, the idol of Lord Shiva is a well-known pilgrimage. Further inside the cave, one can see the Devi's Fall. Mahendra Cave is another famous place in Pokhara, and nearby is another well-known Chamere cave. Both the caves can be visited together. Two other well-known tourist destinations in Pokhara are Begnas and Rupa lakes. Fresh fish of Begnas Lake is a sought-after delicacy. Rupa Lake is just round the corner beyond a small hill towards the eastern edge of Begnas Lake. Away from the hustle and bustle of the town, Begnas and Rupa Lakes cannot be taken out of a tourist's itinerary. This is the famous white monastery on top of the hill above Pheva Lake. This is also a popular destination for domestic as well as foreign tourists. The top-angle bird's-eye view of Pokhara city from the monastery is a sight to behold. The placid Pheva Lake, the tall mountain range, and the birds like paragliding pilots on the background of Sarankot Hill are mesmerizing.
Nepal's House of Representatives passes finance and public debt bills. Procurement reform bill moves forward. Warn of rising risk from infected crows. Monsoon intensifies in Nepal. Experts warn of high disaster risk despite below-average rainfall forecast. Iran warns on Strait of Hormuz control, calls for regional security framework. South Korea and Japan reaffirm denuclearization pledge, agree to strengthen defense cooperation. And 2026 FIFA World Cup knockouts beginning tonight. South Africa faces Canada in round of 32 opener. Good evening, I'm Bijata Bhandari and you're watching NTV World News Hour, coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. Nepal's House of Representatives has endorsed key financial and governance legislation, including the Finance Bill 2083, the Bill to Raise Public Debt 2083, and a proposal to begin deliberations on the Public Procurement Second Amendment Bill 2083. The proposed procurement amendment, tabled by Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Sobita Gautam on behalf of Prime Minister Balendra Shah, aims to strengthen transparency, improve project implementation, and tighten accountability in public procurement. During parliamentary discussions, lawmakers broadly welcomed provisions to curb unrealistically low bids and incomplete projects. On the other hand, some criticized the government's use of ordinances instead of parliamentary procedures to introduce legislation. Meanwhile, the House unanimously passed the Public Debt Bill after Finance Minister Dr. Swarnim Wagle pledged that borrowed funds would be directed toward productive infrastructure projects with stronger oversight of loan-funded investments. We will see more on this in our cover story later in the bulletin. Nepal's Department of Livestock Services has warned that bird flu is spreading across the Kathmandu Valley, with infected crows playing a major role in transmitting the virus. Director General Dr. Umesh Sahal said the disease is more difficult to control in wild birds than in poultry, as infected crows can fly between locations and spread the virus over a 21-day infectious period. Dahal added that the movement and droppings of the infected crows have contributed to outbreaks in multiple areas, including zoos. According to the department, bird flu has now been detected at around 100 locations in 11 districts nationwide, including all 3 districts of the Kathmandu Valley. Authorities have urged the public and poultry farmers to adopt heightened precautionary measures to help prevent further spread of the disease. Nepal's monsoon has become active across the country, with weather authorities issuing warnings despite forecast of below-average rainfall this year. The Meteorological Forecasting Division has urged the public and concerned agencies to take necessary precautions, citing continued risk of floods, landslides, inundation, and other monsoon-related hazards. It warned that daily life, agriculture, health services, tourism, construction activities along riverbanks, and both road and air transport could be significantly affected. The division has called for heightened preparedness and coordination as the monsoon season intensifies. We will see more on this in our Issue of the Day segment later in the bulletin. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has warned that any challenge to the country's control of the strategic Strait of Hormuz will increase tensions. Speaking during a press conference in Baghdad, he called for the creation of a new regional security framework involving Gulf countries, saying it should exclude outside powers.
من از همه طرف‌ها درخواست می‌کنم که در موضوع مدیریت تنگه هرمز و ترتیباتی که برای بازگشایی تنگه هرمز از سوی جمهوری اسلامی ایران اتخاذ میشه دخالت نکنند، به یادداشت تفاهم امضا شده پایبند باشند و اجازه ندهند که این یادداشت تفاهم از مسیر خودش خارج بشه.
Araghchi's Iraq visit comes amid heightened regional tensions, with both countries expected to discuss security cooperation and recent geopolitical developments. Meanwhile, the U.S. bombed Iran for a second day, hitting Qasem Island and the cities of Sirik and Bandar-e-Lenge after a drone attack on a commercial vessel near the Strait of Hormuz. The escalation marks a sharp intensification of hostilities in the Gulf region, raising concerns over maritime security and global energy supply routes. Iran, on the other side, says it has launched retaliatory attacks on U.S. forces in Bahrain and Kuwait and warns of a crushing response to further strikes. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has accused Iran of violating the Memorandum of Understanding between Washington and Tehran and threatened to militarily complete the job. South Korea and Japan have reaffirmed their commitment to the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and agreed to revive joint search and rescue drills in a step forward for security ties between the neighboring countries. Meeting in Seoul, South Korean Defense Minister Ahn Gyu-baek and his Japanese counterpart Shinjiro Koizumi agreed to work on regional stability bilaterally, as well as through their partnerships with Washington in the 6th round of talks between the two countries. Ahn and Koizumi also agreed to continue fostering exchange between their air forces' respective aerobatic teams, South Korea's Black Eagles and Japan's Blue Impulse, to further advance search and rescue exercises designed for various maritime accident scenarios. South Korea and Japan, with U.S. encouragement, have been working to develop closer ties since 2022 and overcome sometimes bitter historical differences, a policy continued by President Lee Jae-myung and Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. The 2026 FIFA World Cup group stage has concluded with dramatic results, confirming the lineup for the round of 32. England, Croatia, DR Congo and Argentina all secured wins on Sunday, while Algeria and Austria played out a thrilling 3-3 draw that helped decide final qualification spots. The knockout stage begins Monday Nepali time, with South Africa facing Canada and Brazil taking on Japan in early fixtures. Meanwhile, football giants including Brazil, Argentina, England, France, Spain and Germany have advanced, alongside surprise qualifiers such as Cape Verde, South Africa and DR Congo. We'll see more on this later in the news. Now, coming up next, incoming monsoon season in Nepal and the possible impacts of the forecasted below-average rainfall this year on agriculture, disaster preparedness, and how aware and prepared the public is regarding this in our Issue of the Day segment after this short break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And now on to our Issue of the Day segment. Nepal's monsoon has become active, with experts warning that the risk of floods, landslides and inundation remains high despite forecast of below-average rainfall due to weak geology, unplanned road construction and climate-related instability. Authorities have urged heightened preparedness and early warning compliance as the peak monsoon period approaches. Sabika Shrestha brings more.
This year's monsoon that entered Nepal through the eastern region is gradually spreading across the country. However, the rainfall is expected to be below average this year. Experts emphasize that lower rainfall does not necessarily mean lower disaster risk. They conclude that Nepal's fragile geographical structure, unplanned infrastructure development, and natural vulnerability continue to make the country highly susceptible to monsoon-related disasters. According to the Department of Hydrology and Meteorology, as little as 100 to 140 millimeters of rainfall within 24 hours is enough to trigger major floods and landslides in Nepal. In recent years, however, the widespread practice of haphazard road construction, cutting hillsides without following standards, and dumping excavated soil and rocks carelessly has made many areas vulnerable to landslides and road blockages even when rainfall exceeds 60 millimeters.
सरकारले बनाएको जुन स्ट्यान्डर्ड छ त्योभन्दा कमै पानी पर्दाखेरि पनि बाढी गएको पहिरो गएको अनुभव हुनाले पानी भारी वर्षा भयो भन्ने चाहिँ अथोरिटीबाट भनिएको अवस्थामा त्यसलाई त्यसअनुसार चाहिँ हामीले सुरक्षाका उपाय अपनाउनु पर्ने पनि देखिन्छ.
During the monsoon season, floods, landslide, inundation and lightning cause the greatest loss of life and property. Experts therefore urge people to exercise extra caution in areas along rivers and streams, flood-prone settlements, landslide-prone hilly regions and areas near highways.
पूर्वानुमानलाई चाहिँ कसरी बुझाउने समुदायसम्म कसरी विस्तार गर्ने भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ काठमाडौँमा जल तथा मौसम विज्ञान विभागले भनेको भन्दा सुर्खेतमा भएको स्थानीय आपतकालीन केन्द्रले वा चाहिँ कैलालीमा भएको चाहिँ आपतकालीन केन्द्रले चाहिँ त्यहाँको स्थानीय समुदायलाई भन्यो भनेपछि त्यो बढी प्रभावकारी हुने हुनाले पनि त्यो सूचनाको प्रभावलाई पनि बढाउने.
Meanwhile, authorities have urged the public to stay informed through regular bulletins issued by the Department of Hydrology and Meteorology and to use the toll-free helpline 1155 for updates on local flood risks and other monsoon-related hazards. It is warned that with disasters possible through the first week of September, maintaining vigilance, preparing in advance, and accessing timely information remain the most effective measures to reduce risks and minimize loss of life and property this monsoon season. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Dhruva Thapa reporting for NTV World.
In this context, we reached out to residents in disaster-prone areas to understand how they are preparing for possible emergencies this monsoon season. With floods and landslides remaining a major concern, we asked locals about their awareness, readiness, and access to early warning systems. Here's what they had to say in today's Public Pulse.
पहिला आफू कसरी बच्ने भन्ने कुरामा ध्यान दिनुपर्छ। जस्तो बाढी आउनुभन्दा अगाडि बाढी आउने क्षेत्रलाई अलि सुरक्षित ठाउँमा बस्ने, बाढी भन्दा पछाडि के गर्न सकिन्छ, बाढीबाट बाढी आइसकेपछि त्यसबाट जोगिने विभिन्न उपायहरू, विभिन्न सुरक्षाका साधनहरू आफूसँग राख्ने, सुरक्षाका सामग्रीहरू राख्ने,
विपद सम्बन्धीका बारेमा जनचेतना हुनु जरुरी छ र आफू पनि सजग हुनुपर्छ र अरूलाई पनि सजगता अपनाउन लगाउनुपर्छ।
व्यक्तिगत रूपमा गर्नुपर्ने पूर्व तयारीको अभ्यास त हामीले गरिरहेका छौं नै, तर यसमा विशेष गरी राज्य पक्षको तर्फबाट गर्नुपर्ने तयारीहरू स्थानीय सरकार, प्रदेश सरकार र संघीय सरकारले अवलम्बन गर्नुपर्ने नीतिहरू, त्यसको पूर्व तयारीका निम्ति गर्नुपर्ने कामहरू राज्य संयन्त्रको तर्फबाट प्रभावकारी ढंगले कार्यान्वयन गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने मलाई लाग्छ।
अब के गर्नु, सुकुम्बासी हो हामी, जग्गा छैन, कतै दुःख छ, अब बस्नु पर्यो, डर लाग्यो नि त्यस्तो। अब बच्चाहरूलाई लिएर सब बाहिर निस्किन्छ।
ओछ्यानहरु त यही हुन्छ, अहिले जे हुन्छ अब लुगा कपडाहरु जरुरी 1-2 दिनको लागि जे हुन्छ तत्कालीन। धेरै सामानहरु अलमारी सलमारी यताउति धेरै भएको भए त अप्ठ्यारो हुन्थ्यो लैजान यताउति।
As Nepal enters the peak paddy planting season in the Nepali month of Asar, farmers across the country are once again facing shortages of chemical fertilizers, raising concerns over this year's rice production. Farmers say supplies of essential fertilizers, including urea, DAP and potash, remain insufficient, forcing many to queue for hours and in some cases buy fertilizers at prices 2 to 3 times higher than the official rate. In districts such as Thading, many fertilizer distribution centers have run out of stock despite repeated government commitments to ensure timely supplies during the planting season. Farmers warned that delayed fertilizer application could slow paddy transplantation, reduce crop yields and increase production cost, while calling for transparent distribution that prioritizes genuine farmers and curbs black market sales. Agricultural stakeholders say recurring fertilizer shortages during the country's most important farming period undermine Nepal's goal of achieving greater agricultural productivity and could ultimately threaten national food security. Coming up next, the House of Representatives' endorsement of the key reformed bills related to Nepal's finance, governance and health sector, and what the Finance Minister Swarnim Wagle had to say about the new tax measures in our cover story of the day after the short break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And now on to our cover story of the day. The House of Representatives has resumed its session after several days, endorsing key financial, governance and health sector reform bills, including the Finance Bill 2083 and the Bill to Raise Public Debt 2083. Lawmakers also advanced deliberations on the Public Procurement Second Amendment Bill, aimed at strengthening transparency and accountability in public projects. During the session, Finance Minister Dr. Swarnim Wagle defended new tax measures, saying revenues from education and health sectors will support opportunities for marginalized communities and boost economic transformation. Here's a report.
The House of Representatives resumed its meeting on July 28 after a gap of several days, endorsing a series of key financial, governance and health sector reform bills. The House approved the Finance Bill 2083 and the Bill to Raise Public Debt 2083, while also moving forward with deliberations on the Public Procurement Second Amendment Bill 2083. The procurement amendment, tabled by Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Sobita Gautam on behalf of Prime Minister Balendra Shah, aims to strengthen transparency, improve project execution and tighten accountability in public procurement. Lawmakers broadly welcomed provisions designed to curb unrealistically low bids and prevent incomplete projects, although some members criticized the government's use of ordinances instead of parliamentary procedures for introducing laws. Meanwhile, the Public Debt Bill was unanimously passed after Finance Minister Dr. Swarnim Wagle assured lawmakers that borrowed funds would be invested in productive infrastructure projects with stronger oversight mechanisms.
तस्करी, भन्सार, अन्तःशुल्क तथा कर सहित सम्बन्धी, कर, प्रत्यक्ष वा अप्रत्यक्ष समेत सम्बन्धी, धितोपत्र वा कमोडिटीज बजारलाई प्रतिकूल प्रभाव पार्ने मार्केट म्यानिपुलेसन वा भित्री कारोबार इनसाइडर ट्रेडिङ सम्बन्धी, मुद्रा, बैंकिङ, वित्तीय विदेशी विनिमय अधिकार पत्र र बीमा सम्बन्धी सम्बद्ध कसुरसँग सम्बन्धित सम्पत्ति शुद्धिकरण, मनी लन्ड्रिङको विषयमा गरिने अनुसन्धान र अभियोजनलाई थप प्रभावकारी बनाउन विद्यमान कानुनमा तत्काल संशोधन गर्न आवश्यक भएको र संघीय संसदको दुवै सदनको अधिवेशन चलिरहेको अवस्था समेत नभएकोले सम्पत्ति शुद्धिकरण, मनी लन्ड्रिङ निवारण तेस्रो संशोधन अध्यादेश 2083 जारी भएको थियो। यसरी जारी भएको अध्यादेश संघीय संसदमा पेश भई स्वीकृत समेत भएकोले नेपालको संविधानको धारा 114 को उपधारा 2 को प्रतिबन्धात्मक वाक्यांशको खण्ड ग मा उल्लेखित अवधिभित्रै अध्यादेश प्रतिस्थापन विधेयक संघीय संसदमा पेश गर्न आवश्यक भएकोले सम्पत्ति शुद्धिकरण, मनी लन्ड्रिङ निवारण तेस्रो संशोधन विधेयक 2083 लाई सरकारी विधेयकको रूपमा संघीय संसद प्रतिनिधि सभा समक्ष प्रस्तुत गर्दछु।
The finance bill was also passed by a majority vote after several amendment proposals were either withdrawn or rejected. Addressing lawmakers during the session, Finance Minister Wagle defended the new tax measures, saying revenue collected from the education and health sectors would be used to expand opportunities for marginalized communities. Minister Wagle said the newly introduced 3% equity tax on private schools is intended to strengthen public education and ensure access for disadvantaged children. The minister also highlighted an income tax exemption on annual earnings up to 1 million rupees, saying it will boost spending capacity and support economic transformation. Defending the 3% foreign currency exchange charge on students going abroad, he said the government remains committed to creating a more investment-friendly environment while widening the tax base. In a separate development, the House also endorsed the bill to amend certain Nepal acts related to Health Sciences Academy 2083 BS. Health Minister Nisha Mehta said the bill will help eliminate irregularities in health institutions and bring transformative changes to the sector, including a more transparent appointment process for vice-chancellors at health sciences academies. Lawmakers also supported the bill, saying it would make healthcare services more people-oriented. The House also passed a condolence motion on the demise of former lawmaker Rajendra Kharel, who previously served as State Minister for Education and Social Welfare. The House of Representatives will next meet on July 2 at 11 a.m.
That was our cover story of the day. Now we move on to other updates. Nepal's Tribhuvan University Teaching Hospital has resumed its health insurance services after a months-long suspension caused by delayed reimbursement payments. Hospital Executive Director Dr. Subhash Prasad Acharya said the program has restarted in the outpatient department from June 29 and will be gradually expanded to other services in the coming days. The hospital had halted this scheme from January 15 after outstanding payments for treatments provided under the National Health Insurance Program remained unpaid. Following the recent settlement of dues by the Health Insurance Board, insured patients can now obtain insurance tickets between 7 and 11 a.m. and from 1 to 2:30 p.m. The teaching hospital has been providing treatment under Nepal's health insurance program since 2077 PS. In another news, Nepal's Vice President Ram Sahai Prasad Yadav has called for stronger integration of research, innovation and digital technology across the country's education system. Speaking at the Silver Jubilee celebration of Madan Bhandari Memorial College in Kathmandu, Vice President Yadav said artificial intelligence and modern technology should be introduced from school through to university education. The Vice President stressed that education must promote discipline, research, innovation and social responsibility while equipping young people with skills for employment and entrepreneurship. He also urged universities to develop into research hubs, describing teachers as key contributors to nation building and calling for timely reforms in the education sector. College officials highlighted the institution's commitment to providing affordable, quality education, with former Tribhuvan University Vice-Chancellor Deepak Aryal noting that the college ranks among the top 10 of nearly 450 community campuses affiliated with the university. Commercial fish farmers in Nepal's Palpa district are scaling back production as cheaper imported fish from neighboring India increasingly dominates the local market. Farmers say imported fish entering through the open border via Rupandehi and Kapilvastu is more affordable and benefits from well-established distribution networks, making it difficult for locally produced fish to compete. They also cite inadequate transportation and weak market management as major obstacles to selling fish produced in rural areas. The Agricultural Knowledge Center in Palpa says it has been supporting fish farmers through the Smart Agriculture Program by helping construct concrete ponds, protective enclosures and plastic tunnels for water conservation. However, farmers are urging the government to go beyond production support by introducing stronger market management measures and policies to protect domestic fish producers. A massive tree plantation campaign has been launched across Lumbini province in coordination with the Ministry of Forest and Environment, Division Forest Office, Deokhuri and community forest groups. The province has produced around 2.5 million saplings with a target of planting trees across more than 60 hectares in 12 districts. The campaign was inaugurated by Chief Minister Chetnarayan Acharya at the Mahadev Community Forest in Gadawar Rural Municipality, who stressed that protection and survival of saplings is more important than plantation alone. Provincial officials said biodiversity-friendly species have been prioritized this year, including jamun in waterlogged areas and other culturally and environmentally important plants across different regions. Stakeholders have urged a stronger focus on long-term conservation to ensure the plantation drive contributes effectively to environmental protection. Time to check more from the international front, but before that, let's have a recap of the headlines. Nepal's House of Representatives passes finance and public debt bills. Procurement reform bill moves forward. Bird flu further spreads in Kathmandu Valley, Nepal. Authorities warn of rising risk from infected crows. Monsoon intensifies in Nepal. Experts warn of high disaster risk despite below-average rainfall forecast. Iran warns on Strait of Hormuz control, calls for regional security framework. South Korea and Japan reaffirm denuclearization pledge, agree to strengthen defense cooperation. And 2026 FIFA World Cup knockouts beginning tonight. South Africa faces Canada in round of 32 opener. A civilian aircraft carrying skydivers has crashed near the eastern French town of Tomblaine, killing all 11 people on board in one of France's deadliest light aircraft accidents in recent years. Local authorities said the victims include 5 instructors, 5 students, and the pilot, with no bystanders affected in the incident. The German-registered aircraft went down near the Nancy SA aerodrome in a grassy area close to residential zones, although the exact cause of the crash remains unknown. A technical investigation has been launched, while emergency and psychological support teams are assisting relatives and witnesses at the site. French Interior Minister Laurent Nunez is expected to visit the crash scene later in the day as authorities continue their probe. The death toll from the 2 devastating earthquakes that struck Venezuela on Wednesday had risen to 1,430, the country's National Assembly President Jorge Rodriguez has said. Speaking on state television, Rodriguez said that 3,238 people had been injured in the quakes and 3,142 families affected by the disaster. He said tens of thousands of people are still working around the clock on search and rescue operations. Rodriguez also said that 60% of the power supply in the hardest hit state of La Guaira has been restored, along with improvements in water supply in some areas, and the Venezuelan government has deployed over 100 heavy machinery units to aid in road clearing efforts and enhance search operations. French health officials said on Sunday there had been around 1,000 more deaths than expected during a record-breaking heat wave that has baked much of Western Europe for days. The agency said areas under red alert for heat had been particularly badly affected, and 85% of the deaths had been those aged 65 and over. It came as Europe has experienced another day of extreme heat, with temperature records being broken across the continent again on Saturday. Germany set a new all-time high for the second day in a row, as temperatures reached 41.5 degrees Celsius, according to provisional data. On Saturday, records also fell in Denmark and the Czech Republic as the unprecedented early summer heat wave moved further north and east, affecting more people. An estimated 150 million people in Europe are now experiencing temperatures of over 35 degrees Celsius. The World Meteorological Organization has warned that the heat wave would have major impacts to health and ecosystems. The Trump administration has unveiled a new limited edition U.S. passport design featuring a photo of President Donald Trump to commemorate America's 250th birthday. In a post on social media on Friday, Trump shared a photo of the passport's newly designed pages, one that includes an image of himself with his fist on the Resolute desk with the Declaration of Independence in the background and his signature below. The passports will become available on 6th of July and only while supplies last, according to the U.S. State Department. It's the latest in a series of moves by the president to mark American institutions, including federal buildings, websites, and documents, with his name or likeness. Meanwhile, thousands of people marched through the streets of Santiago, Chile, waving rainbow flags to mark Pride Month in a demonstration organized by the Movement for Homosexual Integration and Liberation and Fundación Iguales. Protesters called for stronger legal protections, comprehensive sex education, and tougher action against hate speech. The rally comes amid growing concern over rising pressure on LGBTQI+ rights in Chile and other countries, with activists urging authorities to strengthen safeguards against discrimination and violence. Organizers said sustained public pressure is essential to ensure legal progress is not reversed amid the shifting political climates. China has completed a key test on a high-temperature superconducting magnet for its artificial sun project, advancing its efforts to develop nuclear fusion energy. The magnet is designed for the Burning Plasma Experimental Superconducting Tokamak, or BEST, a compact fusion energy experimental facility in Hefei Future Science City, located in East China's Anhui province. Known as a central solenoid magnet, the component works somewhat like the spark plug of a car engine. It helps start a fusion device by driving electric current through plasma, the superheated gas used in nuclear fusion. Test data showed the magnet carried a stable current of 60 kiloamperes and stored 6.03 megajoules of energy, with its core performance the highest ever achieved internationally. The latest breakthrough, along with the technical acceptance of the world's largest superconducting magnet for a fusion reactor, is expected to strengthen China's independent research, development, and engineering capabilities in fusion technology. Business news lined up next. For now, a short breather.
Australia has said it would double the maximum penalty it can impose on tech firms that fail to uphold a groundbreaking social media ban for children, as evidence mounts that the ban has had little effect on teen use. It is said the government will also strengthen the information gathering powers of its internet regulator, allowing it to compel social media companies to provide evidence of what they have done to stop under 16s from getting an account. Under the changes, the maximum penalty for systematic failures to uphold the ban jumps to 99 million Australian dollars from 49.5 million Australian dollars. Since the ban has been put in place, more than 5 million under 16 accounts have been deactivated or restricted. Apple and Microsoft have raised prices on key consumer devices as soaring memory chip costs, driven by surging demand from artificial intelligence data centers, squeeze global supply chains. Apple increased prices across Mac and iPad models, while Microsoft raised Xbox console prices, warning that the components crisis is expected to persist through 2027. The price hikes signal growing pressure on the consumer electronics industry as AI infrastructure competes with device makers for high-performance memory, increasing costs for manufacturers and consumers alike. Mexico and the United States have inaugurated a $50 million sterile fly production facility in Chiapas to combat the destructive New World screwworm, a flesh-eating livestock pest that threatens the cattle industry. The plant is expected to produce up to 100 million sterile flies per week, helping disrupt the insect's breeding cycle and limit its spread. The investment is aimed at safeguarding North America's beef supply chain after the pest triggered livestock trade restrictions and raised concerns over billions of dollars in potential economic losses. By reducing outbreaks, the project is expected to support cattle production, stabilize cross-border trade, and protect ranchers from further disruptions. Vietnam is shifting its investment strategy from low-cost labor to high-skilled talent as foreign companies expand training in semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and research. Industry leaders say technology transfer and university partnerships are building a new generation of engineers, while experts warn that attracting global talent and strengthening innovation policies will be critical to maintaining competitiveness and supporting long-term economic growth. Foreign invested enterprises are projected to contribute around 30% of Vietnam's GDP by 2045, increasing the importance of a highly skilled workforce. Policymakers now face the challenge of scaling successful industry-led training models nationwide to meet growing demand for advanced technology talent.
Now on to sports update. The road to World Cup glory is now set as the group stage of the 2026 FIFA World Cup came to a thrilling close, delivering dramatic results, surprise qualifiers, and the confirmation of the round of 32. Here's a report.
The 2026 FIFA World Cup delivered another dramatic day on Sunday as the group stage concluded and the round of 32 lineup was confirmed. England defeated Panama 2-0, Croatia edged Ghana 2-1, and DR Congo beat Uzbekistan 3-1. Colombia and Portugal played out a goalless draw, while Algeria and Austria produced a thrilling 3-all result that ultimately proved decisive in the race for qualification. Argentina also secured a 3-1 win over Jordan. Attention now turns to the knockout stage, which begins Monday Nepali time. South Africa will face Canada at 12:45 a.m., while five-time champions Brazil take on Japan at 10:45 p.m. in Houston. Among the notable teams advancing to the round of 32 are Brazil, Argentina, England, France, Spain, Germany, Portugal, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Colombia, alongside surprise qualifiers such as Cape Verde, South Africa, and DR Congo. The expanded 48-team tournament has produced several remarkable football storylines. African teams seem to be having one of their best men's World Cup campaign ever, with 9 nations reaching the round of 32. In contrast, only Japan and Australia advanced from Asia's 9 representatives. Iran's presence, meanwhile, came to a halt as they were eliminated after Austria and Algeria drew 3-all, allowing Algeria to claim the final third-place qualifying spot. But one of football's biggest dreams seems closer than ever to come to fruition. A World Cup showdown between Lionel Messi's Argentina and Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal remains likely now, but only if both teams reach the final on July 19, as they now sit on opposite sides of the knockout bracket.
Now on to weather updates, first from Nepal and then from across the world. And before we wrap up, here's a reminder of our top stories. Nepal's House of Representatives passes finance on public debt bills. Procurement reform bill moves forward. Bird flu further spreads in Kathmandu Valley, Nepal. Authorities warn of rising risk from infected crows. Monsoon intensifies in Nepal. Experts warn of high disaster risk despite below-average rainfall forecast. Iran warns on Strait of Hormuz control, calls for regional security framework. South Korea and Japan reaffirm denuclearization pledge, agreed to strengthen defense cooperation. And 2026 FIFA World Cup knockouts beginning tonight. South Africa faces Canada in round of 32 opener. That's it for this edition of NTV World News Hour. Meanwhile, do join us for our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for watching. Good night.